I invite you to rest with me. I speak in a quiet voice. The room grows softer as we prepare. Lamps glow like small promises. Sheets fold around you like a gentle hand. The day loosens its grip. Breath finds a steady rhythm. Settle into this moment. Let the body sink. Allow the shoulders to drop. Notice the tempo of your breath. Inhale slowly. Hold for a breath. Exhale longer. Each breath eases the tightness. Each breath brings a little more ease. I read to you from the pages that have carried comfort across generations. I do not push doctrine or debate. I simply open the Bible as a lamp for the night. Its words come as a warm bowl of soup. They are intended to soothe. They are intended to steady. Listen with soft ears. Imagine a shepherd at dusk. The sheep come close. The shepherd's voice is low and steady. The hills are gentle. The path is calm. I let that image linger. It does not demand belief. It offers rest. There is a line that invites the weary to find rest. It meets the heart like a bench beside a quiet stream. It does not hurry. It does not shame. It welcomes tired hands and tired thoughts. Picture the stream. Hear its steady trickle. Feel the cool air on the skin. Let the steam of a day's worry evaporate. Another passage I hold tonight speaks of comfort in times of darkness. Light comes not as a sudden glare, but as a small lamp passed from hand to hand. The lamp does not chase every shadow at once. It simply allows a safe path. Think of the lamp's glow across the floor. Watch the way it draws patterns on the wall. Allow those patterns to slow the mind. Mercy is present like rain on dry soil. It softens the ground and invites new growth. I read words that promise kindness in seasons of failure. They do not erase consequences. They change the weight of them. Mercy comes with the patience of spring. It waits. It nudges. Hope appears as a gentle horizon. It is not a shout. It is a quiet promise that morning will follow night. I describe that horizon without forcing certainty into your hands. Instead, I point. You may lean into it. You may simply watch. When I read the words about carrying burdens and finding rest, I imagine a traveler setting down a heavy pack. The pack has straps that cut into tired shoulders. The path ahead softens once the load is down. There is a bench beneath a tree. The traveler sits. A hand reaches across and steadies the traveler's back. Relief is not instant, but it is present. That image rests between the pages. Hear the assurance that you are not alone on this path. Companionship comes in silent ways. A presence at the edge of sleep. A warmth that does not demand proof. I describe that presence as a steady heartbeat beside your own. It is not loud. It is not intrusive. It simply is. I speak of forgiveness as a door opening in a quiet house. The door is not slammed. It is opened with care. Light spills in. The room breathes differently. Regret sits in a chair and becomes smaller. The texture of shame softens like old fabric rinsed in clean water. I invite you to notice the change rather than argue about its causes. Gratitude arrives as tiny stones on a path. Each one is small and plain. Each one is a place to rest the foot. I ask you to name 3 small stones tonight. They can be simple. A hot cup earlier. a kind word, a small task finished. Say them in your mind. Let them warm the chest. They do not fix everything. They tilt the balance. I keep my sentences short because the night demands clarity. Long sentences make the mind turn cartwheels. Short lines let the heart breathe. Present moments hold the power here. I point to the now again and again. The present is where comfort sits. There is a passage about winds and waves. I fold it into an image of a small boat on a slow lake. The boat knows how to ride even when the surface ripples. The oars rest when the tide eases. The pilot does not panic. A hand steadies the oar, and the boat glides. Picture the gentle rocking. Allow it to match your own breath. I read softly about promises faithful as steady stars. Stars do not demand attention. They are simply there, on long nights. Their presence steadies those who look up. Imagineaski, like velvet. Each star is a distant comfort. They do not solve problems. They remind us that some things endure if worry creeps in. Return to the breath and the image of the bench beneath the tree. Worry is a guest that does not always know the time to leave. Offer the guest a seat. Let it speak briefly. Then close the door gently. The guest can stay without taking residence in the heart. Mercy and hope are simple companions. They do not lecture. They do not press. They sit beside you like an old friend who knows when to be quiet. I describe their presence in the house of your evening. Imagine them sitting on the arm of your chair. Not touching, but close enough to feel the warmth. I read passages that speak of rest as trust. Trust is not blind. It is choosing to lay down one's tools for a time. To choose rest does not mean giving up on work. It means allowing repair to happen. I liken it to turning off a lamp to mend its cord. In the dark, one can see how the pieces fit. In sleep, the heart repairs. Soft music for the soul arrives, not as ceremony, but as a simple tune hummed under the breath. I hum the notion of gratitude. I hum the thought of small kindnesses. The tune is not complex. It repeats a two-line phrase that eases the mind. Let that repetitive phrase become a pillow. I invite reflection on the day without judgment. I ask for a slow inventory. Where did your energy go? Where did it return? What small acts of tenderness stood out? Name one moment of relief and hold it. Let it expand to the size of a hand. I do not pressure the mind to forget pain. I invite a gentle reframing. Pain becomes a teacher that sits with a soft expression. It does not dominate the room. It moves to the corner with time and attention. We do not banish it. We contain it. In quiet lines. I remind you that sorrow and joy can sit side by side. They share the same room like two old travelers. One does not cancel the other. Both can exist. And both can be met with gentleness. Picture two cups on a table. One contains bitter tea, the other sweet. Both are acknowledged. Neither is forced away. I read of rest that deepens trust. Trust does not always feel like certainty. Many nights, trust feels like the choice to close the eyes while holding a hand. The hand may not have a firm grip, but the choice is made to let go and be cradled. Allow the feeling of being cradled to grow. If fear wakes you in the night, speak softly inside. I suggest a phrase to say to the restless mind. Say it slowly. Say it with the rhythm of breath. The phrase is simple and steady. The words are not a formula. They are a reminder that you do not travel alone. Let the reminder be the lullaby. Gentleness shapes the way I read. I slow the pace when fatigue arrives. I lean into images that soothe. Grass underfoot. A warm cup. A small cat curling in a lap. The simplicity of these images calms. They are small anchors. I do not claim to carry answers for every ache. I simply offer the steady language of Scripture as a harbor. The harbor protects boats from the worst storms long enough for repair. We are not safe from every wind. We are given a place to breathe and mend. Tonight, I fold you into a slow rhythm of reading and silence. I speak for a stretch, and then leave room. Silence matters as much as words. In the quiet, the heart samples what has been said. Allow that tasting before we close this first part of our evening. I ask for a small act. Let the hands rest. Palms up. Let the jaw soften. Let the eyes feel the weight of sleep. Think of one word that feels like an anchor for tonight. It could be rest, mercy, light, or peace. Hold that word lightly. I describe sleep not as escape, but as a sacred pause. It is a time when the body rearranges itself for the next day. The mind files small things into drawers. The heart loosens knots. It cannot unknot in waking. The pauses are part of healing. We will continue in the next part with a gentle reading that leans into stories of quiet rescue and patient presence. For now, let the images settle. Let the breath lengthen. Allow the body to obey the call to stillness. I close this invitation with a simple blessing of presence. May the night be soft. May mercy find the smallest cracks. May hope breathe into each breath. Rest now. I stay with you in this pause and will return with more reading when it is time to continue. If this time helps you, consider staying with me. If you like, subscribe and pass this evening on to someone who needs quiet. Small acts like that widen the circle of rest. They do not hurry the night. They simply invite more stillness. I open the Bible again. Tonight I turn to a short line from Psalm 4610. I read the lines slowly. Be still and know that I am God. The words land like a soft knock at the door. They do not demand an answer. They invite attention. Be still begins with the body. Settle the hands. Let the teeth part a fraction. Soften the jaw. Feel the weight of the head on the pillow. The muscles under the shoulders loosen. Each breath slows by a fraction. Small motions fade. The body becomes a quiet instrument. Be still reaches into the mind. Notice a thought. Imagine it like a leaf that floats past on a slow current. Watch it drift. Do not pull it close. Do not chase it. Allow the thought to continue on. Another comes. Watch it. 2. The watching changes the relationship. It creates space. Be still invites the heart. Emotions do not stop at once. They trace their familiar paths. I name one feeling without argument. I let it sit like a guest in a quiet room. The room does not fill with more guests. It simply holds what is present with a soft, steady light. Know that I am God moves the attention outward and inward at once. Knowing here is not proving. It is not a calculus. It is an encounter. It feels like a hand that rests on the small of the back when a traveler pauses on a hill. The hand is not heavy. It is gentle. It is steady. I use the phrase, "Be still and know that I am God," as a slow metronome. Breathe in on "Be still." Hold. Breathe out on "Know that I am God." Repeat this pace in your mind. The rhythm is not a test. It becomes a cradle for attention. Presence is not loud. It is not a shout that clears everything at once. It is more like a lantern set on a windowsill. The lantern does not sweep the whole house. It illuminates what it touches. It offers a small, reliable light for the next step. Allow that light to be your focus. Imagine a quiet house at dusk. The kettle has finished singing. A single chair faces the window. Outside, the city slows. Windows blink like small eyes closing. Inside, a wool blanket drapes over the back of the chair. The blanket smells faintly of lavender. This calm is not dramatized. It simply exists. The Psalms line sits in that room like the chair by the window. Knowing God here is less about solving every question and more about recognizing a steady presence. The presence resembles a steady clock on the wall. The hands do not race. They mark each moment with quiet reliability. Time continues. The clock does not hurry. The soul becomes less anxious because a steady measure exists. I read these words slowly because the night needs space. Short sentences help the ear. They let the mind land without tumbling. The present tense keeps the scene immediate. I describe what appears now rather than what might happen later. This approach soothes the listening mind. Mercy breathes into the scene like warm air from a hearth. It moves slowly. It softens edges. The mercy in Scripture is not a lecture. It is a warmth given without calculation. It does not erase the past, but it alters the weight of it in the chest. Feel the warmth. Let it ease the muscles around the ribs. Hope arrives without insistence. It is a thin thread. Yes, but it is steady. Picture a small light in the distance on a coast at night. It stands there, whether the waves look fierce or mild. The light does not promise the storm will vanish. It promises a point to steer toward. In the dark, the tiny light becomes a direction. I read the psalm as a bedside promise. The words offer a posture more than a program. Be still is a posture of surrender for a time. It asks for the hands to unclench. It asks for the mind to stop its busy constructions. It asks for the heart to rest in the knowledge of presence. To make this personal, try a simple practice with me. Place one hand over the chest and one hand on the belly. Feel the rise under the hand on the belly. Count to 3 as you breathe in. Hold one small count. Breathe out for 4. Let the exhale be longer than the inhale. With each cycle, whisper the phrase, "Be still," in your mind as you inhale. Whisper, "Know that I am God," as you exhale. No sound need. Leave the lips. The rhythm does the work. The room is allowed to be ordinary. Ordinary does not mean unimportant. Ordinary means safe. It implies that rest can be practical. Sleep will come without dramatic signs. Often, it arrives like a long exhale, not like a clap. Expect a gentle lowering rather than a sudden drop. I avoid heavy theology in the night. Big words can wake the mind. Instead, I tell stories that fold the listener into the presence of God. One such story is very simple. A child loses a small toy in the dark. The parent searches without fuss. When the toy appears, the parent holds it out with a quiet smile. The child's breath slows. The relief is not loud. It is the easing of a small heart. The encounter is not complex. It mirrors the way a gentle presence meets a small turning of attention in us. Grace behaves like that small smile. It does not erase every worry. It changes the way worry sits. The change matters to the sleeper. It matters to the one who will wake in the morning. If fear arises in the night, treat it like rain at a window pane. Watch how the drops make patterns. Notice the sound. Do not jump up to chase the storm. Let it be visible and heard. In time, the pattern will fade. The knowledge that a presence watches beside the window steadies the nerves. You are not left alone with the sound. I remind listeners that knowing God is often sensory. It can be the sensation of a breath that is steadier. It can be the image of a hand placed over another hand. It can be the quiet certainty that, even in uncertain times, there is a presence that does not flinch. This is not argument. It is experience described in small phrases. Tonight, I also invite the practice of naming. Name 3 things you notice in the room that are gentle. The soft hum of the refrigerator, the faint smell of soap, the weight of the covers. Name them slowly. Let each name lengthen the breath. These names are anchors. They are not solutions. They are little dockings for attention. I keep sentences brief to match the slow tempo of sleep. The voice is low. The images are modest. The reading aims to match breathing rather than to race ahead. Sometimes, prayer takes the form of listening more than speaking. The psalm gives permission to be still. Being still can be an act of trust. Trust here is not a confident proof. It is a choice to let the hands rest for a while. It is a simple decision to allow the night to do its work. If thoughts return, do not fight them. Offer them a short greeting. Then return to the rhythm. Think of the rhythm as a lane in a road. Cars may drift in and out. The lane keeps arriving again. Bring attention back, kindly. The voice in the mind needs direction, but not scolding. I read scripture like a lantern set on the bedside table. It throws light just where it is needed. It does not aim to resolve everything. It gives a direction. A word like "be still" functions as a gentle boundary. It tells the self to rest. It sets a limit on the mind's wanderings. Mercy, hope, and presence move quietly together. Mercy softens regret. Hope offers a direction. Presence holds the moment. Each acts in small increments. These increments accumulate into rest. I pause now and leave a few breaths of silence between lines. Silence is part of the reading. It allows what is spoken to settle. It lets the heart respond in its own rhythm. Rest in the silence as if it were a warm room. Breathe there for 3 long cycles. When you feel ready, allow the hands to fall back to the sides. Let the body move towards sleep without tension. Keep the phrase "be still" and know that I am God in the mind like a slow tide. Do not force it. Let it return when the mind finds room. Before I close this part of the evening, I offer a small blessing. May the stillness you seek find you tonight. May presence meet you in the middle of the dark. May mercy soften the places that ache. May hope rest quietly within the chest. Rest comes as a gift to be received. I will return in the next part with another reading that leans into quiet rescue and patient presence. For now, let the breath lengthen. Let the eyelids grow heavy. Let the night do its gentle work. I stay with you in this pause and will come back when the hour calls for more reading. Am God. Let's pause together in this moment, acknowledging God's presence and the stillness He brings to our troubled minds. A line from 1 Peter reaches across the hours. It asks that we cast our anxieties on the One who cares. I do not unpack doctrine tonight. I hold the line like a small lamp. The lamp shows one step. It does not map the whole road. It asks for a simple action. The invite is quiet and practical. Settle the body first. Let the shoulders ease. Unclench the jaw. Let the hands rest at the sides or on the belly. Feel their weight, the small. Steady weight begins to anchor the attention. Breath finds a gentle cadence. Inhale slowly. Pause for a moment. Exhale longer. Each breath asks less of the muscles. Each breath gives back a little space. Imagine a shallow river at dusk. The surface catches last light. The bank is soft with moss. Little stones sit at the edge, smooth and round. Each stone represents a worry. The stones are varied. Some feel heavy in the hand. Some look small. You do not need to measure them. The river receives what is offered. Not with judgment, but with the steady work of carrying things forward. Take 1 stone from the bank in the mind. Hold it gently. Name the worry in a quiet way. The name is short. It need not be elaborate. A single word will do. The naming does not stir the worry into life more than it already is. Naming gives it a place. It becomes a thing that can be held, not a storm that lives inside the chest. When the mind is ready, place the stone into the river. Watch the plop and the small rings that follow. The rings widen and then fade. The stone passes and the water keeps moving. The river does not erase the stone. It carries it where it belongs. The act of placing is an offering. It is not a performance. It is a quiet handing over. Repeat this for 2 or 3 stones. Do not hurry. Each action is a small ritual. Breathe in as you lift a stone. Breathe out as you release it to the water. The breath and the movement align. The rhythm steadies the nervous system. The ritual trains the hands and the heart to let go in small increments. Some stones feel heavier than others. Some do not seem to sink at once. That is all right. The river takes time. You do not need to force the stone under. The process is patient. A presence watches at the bank. It does not scold. It simply stands steady. It cares. That care is slow and reliable, like a lighthouse that keeps its beam through the fog. If naming one worry draws another to the surface, notice that too. Imagine a shelf in a quiet room. One item moves into view at a time. The rest stays where it is. Let the attention move from shelf to shelf. Each worry can be placed on the river in its own time. There is no demand to clear the room at once. Now try a small practice with the breath and the hands. Place the right hand gently on the heart. Place the left hand on the belly. Feel the two places move with each breath. Inhale and sense the hand on the belly rising. Exhale and feel the hand on the chest falling. With the inhale, name the worry you notice. With the exhale, imagine placing it into the river. The rhythm becomes a soft machine of release. It does not rush healing. It makes room. Remember that casting anxieties is not pretending they do not exist. It is an act of rehousing them. They move from the interior chamber into the stream of care. Care is not a concept here. It is a steady presence that sits beside the river, watching the stones go. The presence knows the stones by shape and by sound. It knows their weight without being surprised. Fear sometimes tightens when the mind is asked to release. If that happens, keep the movements smaller. Hold a pebble instead of a large stone. Place the pebble in a shallow bowl of water. Watch the small ripples. Let the smaller task be the proof that release can happen. Small acts lead to larger ones. The body remembers the pattern of letting go. If a particular worry repeats, consider giving it a metaphorical name and placing it into a small basket by the riverbank. The basket is not meant to hide the worry forever. It is a temporary holding place. The presence at the bank checks the basket now and then. It sorts the contents with tenderness. Some items are taken and smoothed. Some are left to dry. The act of arranging is itself comforting. I read these images softly, because images help the ear receive ideas without argument. The mind does not need to solve each worry tonight. It needs to stop bearing everything at once. Laying small burdens down does that. The steady phrase from Scripture about casting cares because of care becomes a pattern of action. It is practical. It is tender. Ask the breath to lengthen the exhale again. Count slowly, if it helps. Breathe in for 3 counts. Hold for a count. Breathe out for 4 counts. Move a stone with each exhale. The counting anchors the attention. The counting removes the need to chase thoughts. It offers the mind a lane to return to. Sometimes a worry is a knot in the throat or a tightness behind the eyes. Place a hand lightly on the throat or the forehead. Breath into that place, as if warming it with the palm. Imagine the warmth loosening the knot. Invite the presence at the bank to cup that knot with gentleness. The presence does not demand explanation. It simply holds a hand there until the knot relaxes enough to be noticed and then released. If images of past failures arise, treat them like old letters found in a drawer. Open one slowly. Read with compassion. Fold it back with the knowledge that mistakes do not define the whole story. Offer the letter to the river. Watch its edges curl as the water takes it. The act of handing over is the same. Whether the burden is small or old, I speak as a reader who sits beside this lamp. My voice is steady. It is not a solution factory. It is a companion. The role tonight is to help make small practices feel possible. The practices are simple. They work because they are repeatable. Repeatability calms the nervous system. It teaches the muscles to trust the letting go. If sleep resists because of worry, do a meaning inventory. Name 3 small things that feel tolerable now. A cool spot on the pillow, the hum of a distant fan, the weight of the blanket on the knees. Let those small tolerables become a base for the image of the river. They are anchors for attention, while the larger concerns are placed gently into the water. Avoid forcing gratitude as a counterweight. Gratitude is a tender plant. It grows when the soil is gentle. Instead of pushing for thankfulness, look for small mercies. A single phrase can help notice a small mercy. Hold it in the mind. Let it sit beside the basket on the bank. Mercy is not a solution. It is the steady hand that helps move burdens along. If tears arrive, let them flow. Tears are waterways that help move weight. They are part of the river system. Crying does not mean failure. It means the body is doing what bodies do when given permission to move. Let the presence at the bank watch with no hurry. Let silence hold the spaces between breaths and between tears. Silence matters as much as the words. I pause frequently. The pauses give the mind room to practice the river scene. In those pauses, the breath deepens. The hands grow accustomed to stillness. The heart learns that release can happen without spectacle. The practice becomes a quiet muscle. I keep sentences short so that the ear can follow without fatigue. Long sentences make the mind chase multiple ideas at once. Short lines give the heart time to follow and then rest. The present tense keeps the actions immediate. The river is happening now. The stones are moving now. The presence is here now. Before closing this part, place one last imagined stone into the water. Make it small. Make its name gentle. Watch the ring it leaves. Let the rings fade. Follow one until it dissolves into calm. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out and feel a little less weight in the chest. Do not demand complete peace. Notice the small decrease in pressure. Allow that change to be enough. I will pause here and leave some silence. Let the river keep moving on its own in the mind. Allow the presence at the bank to remain near. Rest in the simple trust that the act of casting concerns is welcome and received. Mercy meets each offering with care. When you feel ready to shift deeper into sleep, let the hands fall. Let the breath lengthen one more time. Keep the image of the river as a guide. Return to it if the night stirs. I will come back in the next part with more soft readings and gentle practices. For now, rest in the small unburdening you have begun. I sit with you again and open the Bible like a small gift. My voice is low. The lamp on the bedside casts a soft pool of light. I read a line that asks for kindness and compassion. It asks for forgiveness. The line sits like a folded shawl. It feels warm when placed over tired shoulders. Forgiveness is a gift. Say that word slowly in your mind. Gift. It comes without prior earning. It arrives like rain on a parched roof. It does not demand reasons. It simply falls. Tonight I do not argue about its shape. I describe how it feels when received and how it can be offered in small, practical ways. Picture a small wooden box on a table. The box has a sliding lid. Inside, there are small slips of paper. Each slip carries a name or a worry or a memory. Some slips are creased. Some are bright with ink. The act of forgiveness is like sliding the lid, smoothing a slip flat, and placing it gently inside. The box is not meant to hide everything. It keeps things in a place where they can be tended. Take one slip in your mind. It is light. It carries the shape of a small offense or a large ache. Hold it. Look at it without judgment. No weighing. No measuring. Simply notice. The noticing is the first part of the work. Breath slows when the noticing is gentle. I invite a tiny ritual. Fold the slip once. Fold it again. Feel the seam of the fold under the fingers of the imagination. Breathe in. Breathe out. Lay the folded slip into the wooden box. Slide the lid closed. The movement is not magical. It is an act. It moves attention from the place that replays the hurt to a place that can hold it with new hands. Forgiveness often meets the body first. Notice where the memory sits. Is there tightness in the throat? A. Heaviness in the chest? A. Clenching in the jaw? Place your palm lightly on that place. Breathe toward it as if warming it with your hand. The warmth does not erase the memory. It changes how the body keeps it. The shift is small, but real. I say gift because forgiveness feels like receiving when you least expect it. Imagine a neighbor leaving a warm loaf at the doorstep. You do not plan for it. You do not merit it. You simply find comfort. Forgiveness works that way. It arrives whether you prepared for it or not. When given, it does not require full trust at once. It asks only for an opening of the hand. There is freedom in seeing forgiveness as a present you can accept or decline. Acceptance is gentle. It does not need a speech. It needs a breath and a small motion. Acceptance is a slow unclenching. It is the historian who closes a book and sets it on the shelf. Closing the book does not deny the story. It simply gives the reader a new hour. Sometimes forgiveness is a bridge between two people. Sometimes it is a bridge you build alone. Both are real. If the other person cannot cross, you still might build your side. That side is for the peace of your own house. The act of building is practical. It is choosing to stop feeding the fire with new fuel. It is placing a stone in a pattern that leads away from sharp edges. Let me describe a different image. Think of a needle and thread. Some wounds are sewn with careful stitches. Forgiveness ties a knot that holds the fabric together without pulling it tight. The knot is not a tidy fix. It is a deliberate pause. It allows the fabric of life to rest without further tearing. Or team. The thread loosens. The seam softens. The knot remains a sign that repair was attempted. I also speak of forgiving oneself. This part is often the hardest. We hold our errors in the mind like a heavy coat on a chair. We keep reaching for it, out of habit. Try a small practice. Imagine taking the coat off the chair. Shake it lightly. Feel the dust fall away. Hang it in a space where it can be seen but not worn. This does not mean you deny the cold that required the coat. It means you choose to step forward without it for a time. When you forgive yourself, use a kind voice in your mind. Note a loud speech, not a harsh checklist. A kind voice is steady and short. It says a few words, and then lets silence do the rest. If the mind protests, listen, and then return to the kind voice. The mind learns patterns by repetition. Gentle words repeated in a calm rhythm become a new habit. Forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. I want to say that clearly. There are times when safety requires distance. Forgiveness can be independent of return. It does not demand the other person's change. It releases the hold the pain has on you. You can forgive and still choose a different path. Both choices can be faithful to the heart's need for peace. I read snippets of scripture that frame this act of forgiving. The text asks us to be kind, to be compassionate, to forgive one another. The words do not command a quick fix. They invite a steady practice. Practice looks like the small rituals I describe. They are repeatable. They fit into the night when energy is low and the mind is softer. There is a tactile image I return to. Think of a kitchen table after a day of work. Crumbs lie near the edge. A hand passes a small brush and sweeps them into the palm. The crumbs are not hidden under a rug. They are gathered and placed in the bin. The table looks cleaner. It does not mean the cooking never happened. It simply shows that tending can follow doing. Forgiveness is a similar tidy up. It does not deny the messy meal. It lightens the table for the next day. If a memory resists being folded into the box, try tracing its edge with a finger. Do not press. Do not pry. The tracing is an act of attention without force. A soft touch can change the way a memory sits. The present moment is capable of reholding old things with new gentleness. I mention the body again because forgiveness travels through it. Try a breathing practice that pairs with the folding slip. Inhale and name the small hurt silently. Hold the breath for a count of 1. Exhale and imagine the slip folding itself and being placed in the box. Repeat 3 times. The cycle becomes miniature muscle memory. The body and the mind learn to move together. Often, the most stubborn weight is the fear that releasing will mean losing caution. Forgiveness does not remove caution. It changes the way caution is carried. Caution can sit beside curiosity rather than anchor it. The world remains wise, not naive. Forgiveness does not hand out keys to every door. It offers one small key to unlock the chest you have carried too long. I avoid heavy theology tonight because the night calls for rest, not debates. I use simple images because simple images rest well in the ear. The Bible line about kindness and forgiveness is a steady map, not a detailed plan. It points to the practice of handing things over and of offering the gift. Mercy appears in the room like a low flame. It warms without consuming. Mercy meets mistakes with a hand that smooths rather than slaps. It does not deny the consequences. It simply attends to the person first. In that way, mercy is practical and ordinary. It asks only that you notice its warmth. If anger arises while you practice forgiveness, do not be frightened. Anger is a visitor. Offer it a seat by the window. Let it look out for a moment. Name it as anger breathe with it. Then return to the act of folding the slip. The folding does not pretend the anger is absent. It changes where it can sit. The movement of attention is what alters the scene. At times, forgiveness is like a plant that needs tending. Water it with small acts of mercy. Weed around it with patience. Do not expect a bloom overnight. Watch for subtle growth. A leaf of relief appears. The stem straightens. That is enough to notice and to rest on. I suggest a concluding small practice before we rest. Close your eyes. Picture the wooden box again. See it on the table. Choose one slip you have not yet placed inside. Name it quietly. Fold it once. Fold it again. Lay it in the box. Slide the lid closed. Hear a very soft sound as it settles. Place your hand on the box for a moment. Feel its steady presence. Know that something has moved. The movement matters. Leave the box on the table. It is not meant to be carried away at once. It will sit there. You may return to it tomorrow. Perhaps you will add another slip. Perhaps you will take one out and smooth it for inspection. The point is not speed. The point is a gentle rehousing of what hurt. I end this part with a short blessing. May the gift of forgiveness find a small opening in your night. May mercy touch the places that ache. May the box on your table be a reminder that some burdens can be held at arm's length. Rest with that image. Let the breath follow the gentle motion you have practiced. Allow the chest to ease and the jaw to unclench. I pause now and leave silence for a few breaths. Let the image settle. When you are ready to sink deeper, allow the hands to fall. Keep the rhythm of a slow inhale and a longer exhale. I will return in the next part with another quiet reading. For now, rest in the small gift you have practiced, giving and receiving. I open the Bible softly. The lamp is low. Pages move like leaves. I breathe with you. Tonight I read a line about grace. My grace is sufficient for you. The words sit like a warm cup in the hands. They do not demand answers. They invite rest. Grace feels like an unexpected gift. It arrives when the hands are empty. It does not arrive with a receipt. It does not demand repayment. Grace sits beside the bed like a slow friend. It steadies the edges. I tell a story now. It comes from my family. It is small and ordinary. It is not a sermon. It is a witness. My sister carries a scar that is mostly out of sight. She keeps most of it folded under ordinary days. The hurt comes from a long time back. It is the kind of hurt that changes routine. It changes the taste of a meal. It changes how the night pauses. She does not tell the story often. She tells it only at odd times when the house is very quiet. She was young then. The wrong felt sharp. It left a wound that remembered itself in the mornings. She learned to stack her life around it. Calendars. Chores. Work. The wound kept a place by the window. It kept a light on in the night. Years pass. She builds a life that looks proper from outside. The wound remains. It becomes part of the furniture. She uses polite words to name it. The wound answers in quiet ways. A cough, a restless sleep, a pocket that always holds the weight of something not yet forgiven. One evening, she sits at the kitchen table. The lamp is thin. and the house hums with the well-worn noises of cups and a distant radio. I am reading scripture as I do most nights. I do not push. I simply let the words land. I read without hurry. The phrase about grace settles in the room like a soft blanket. She listens. She does not say much. She folds her hands and holds the phrase for a while. The phrasing is simple. It does not explain everything. It does not remove the memory. Instead, it becomes a small offering. The offering looks like a key you did not know you were missing. Over the next weeks, she begins something small. She does not call it forgiveness at first. She calls it a habit of noticing a different thing. Each morning she makes a small cup of tea and sets it on the sill. The cup is humble. It is not a ceremony. The cup asks only to be there. When the memory presses at the edge of her day, she takes the cup to the table. She breathes slowly. She names what is present with one short word. The naming is practical. It is not rehearsal of argument. It simply asks the body to give the thought a label and then to place it down. Then she breathes, a new rhythm with the cup in her hands. She inhales for a count that feels like a steady step. She exhales and allows the shoulders to drop. With each breath she imagines the cup filling, not with tea alone, but with a different kind of light. Not a vivid light, a soft, steady light. It suffices. It is enough. The days do not immediately straighten. Some nights the old hurt returns heavy. Other nights it is small. What changes is the container for the hurt. The cup sits beside it now. The hurt has a neighbor that is not busy feeding it. The neighbor offers a steady presence. One afternoon, she takes a different step. She writes a note on a thin scrap of paper. The scrap is short. It holds a single line about the feeling she has carried. She does not send the note to anyone. She places it in a small wooden box on the shelf. The box sits beside a jar of buttons and a candle stub. It is a practical box. It holds things that need to be looked at later. When she closes the lid on the box, she does not imagine the memory disappears. She simply moves it to a place where it can be tended without pressing on the heart at all hours. The box becomes a friend. It is present and quiet. She opens it from time to time. She inspects the scrap with gentleness. She forgives not to forget, but to change how the scrap fits in the room. A neighbor notices the shift first. He mentions, in passing, that she is humming at the sink lately. The tone of her voice is different. There is a softness there now. The world around her does not rearrange itself dramatically. Small changes are quiet. They are enough grace. In her experience, is not a sudden fix. It is a daily sufficiency. It arrives like a small supply. Each morning it replenishes what is needed to continue. It does not insist on producing a final answer. It offers enough light for the next step. There is a day she speaks of the wound, without the old edge in her voice. It catches me by surprise. She says she is not certain whether the other person will ever change. She does not remember the wrong as loudly. The memory sits in the box and no longer rings the bell at midnight. She has not erased the past. She has changed the weight of it. The act that shifts her is small and tangible. It is a repeatable practice. She returns to the cup and the breath when the old trouble rises. She uses the cup as a signal that the hurt need not guide the rest of the day. She uses the box as a place where memories can be looked at without being lived in. Her motions are ordinary. The result is a new kind of rest. This story holds a teaching for me as I read to you. Grace is sufficient in the same way her small habits are sufficient. They do not promise an immediate miracle. They promise a steady presence. They promise that the chest will not need to carry every weight alone. I invite a small practice with this image. Find a small cup or a glass beside your bed. Keep it filled with water. The water need not be ceremonial. It is simply a tool. When a memory arrives that keeps the heart awake, take the cup, hold it with both hands, feel its coolness, breathe in slowly. Imagine the air that fills the lungs as a quiet kind of grace. Let the inhale be the sense of being held. Let the exhale be the relief of being allowed to rest. You might also place a small token near the cup, a pebble, a button, a small coin. The token is a symbol. When the old ache lifts its head at night, move the token one space to the left. The motion is not symbolic by itself. It trains the hands and the mind to make a small change. Or team. The token travels across the table and begins to mark a route away from the center of the room where the hurt used to sit. If forgiveness is needed, approach it like the small actions I have described. Do not demand immediate conclusion. Use one small ritual. Keep it repeatable. A cup, a box, a token, a breath that lengthens the exhale. These are gentle instruments. They let the nervous system learn a new rhythm. I read the verse about sufficiency again. It becomes a bedside promise more than a lecture. The sufficiency looks like enough light to take one more step. It looks like a hand that gently steadies the back of a traveler. It functions practically. It does not erase consequences. It helps the body carry them. There are nights when the memory returns with force. Those nights require a softer approach. Lower the lamp. Reduce movements. Let the cup stay on the sill. Put the token back where it belongs. Breathe and allow the breath to be counted softly. Do not push. Allow the presence of grace to be a quiet companion. If you feel resistance to receiving grace, notice the two. Resistance is often an old protection. It is not a final judgment. Place your palm over your heart. Hold the place with care. Speak a single, kind phrase in the mind about sufficiency. No long speeches. No arguments. Just a short reassurance that it is allowed to rest and be held. My sister's peace grows slowly. It is not sudden. It is not theatrical. It is a real change in the body's tension. She sleeps longer without waking. She takes afternoons without guilt. She laughs in a lower, calmer way. The wound remains a part of her history. The wound does not run her days now. I share this because the story is not exceptional in its drama. It is ordinary, and therefore possible. It is the kind of change that comes from small practices, repeated with patience. Grace supports those practices. Grace supplies what is needed to keep going. I will leave you with a brief invitation. Tonight, choose one small object to be your symbol of grace. A cup, a pebble, a handkerchief, Place it beside you. When the night presses in, pick it up. Breathe in and imagine the inhale as a filling of something that is not owned. Breathe out and let the exhale carry what you can release to a steady care. Repeat as often as needed. As I close this part of the reading, I dim my voice further. The lamp moves to a fringe of light. The cup on the sill catches a whisper of shadow. The house breathes with you. May the sufficiency of grace find a seat in your room tonight. May the small practices you try help the heart relax. I will return in the next part with a soft reading about mercy that surrounds us in small ways. For now, rest in the steady promise that enough comes when the night is long. Let the breath lengthen. Let the hands open. Let the cup be a witness to the slow work of grace. I open the Bible again and let the pages fall where they will. The lamp makes a small circle of light. The rest of the room lives in soft shadow. I read a line from Proverbs, slowly. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. The line rests like a gentle hand on the chest. Trust feels like a simple muscle you can practice. It is not an idea to argue about tonight. It is emotion you can try. I invite a small exercise. Place both hands, palms up, on the blanket. Let the fingers curl as if they hold something light. The palms feel the weight of the cloth. Breathe in. Let the shoulders soften. Exhale and let the fingers open. In the opening, imagine a tiny release, a small let go. This is not a grand surrender. It is a single, steady action repeated. Imagine a well-worn map spread on a table. The map has creases and notes. For years you have traced the route with a finger. You have tried to redraw impossible parts. Now picture setting the map down and placing a compass on top. The compass points steadily. It does not promise every safe road. It simply gives direction. Trusting is like choosing to follow the compass for a while. You keep your feet near the path. You do not need to redraw the mountains. Control often looks tedious at first. It has a list. It has times and checks. It behaves like a tight knot. The knot promises security by holding everything in place. But knots wear the rope. They cut into the palm. Each attempt to hold tighter makes the strain worse. The practice I offer is simple. Gently loosen one loop. Do not untie the whole knot. Loosen a bit and notice how the hand feels. The heart often follows the muscles. The loosening becomes permission. Proverbs asks for trust with the whole heart. Whole does not mean sudden. Whole can mean gradual. Imagine a glass of water poured slowly, drop by drop. The glass fills. The action is patient. The water does not rush. Trust can arrive drop by drop. Each small release is a drop, or a team. Enough drops change the shape of the day. I tell a quiet story from a season when I held the steering wheel too tightly. The road had fog. The eyes wanted to control every inch. I tried to fix the speed, the radio, the route. Nothing helped. My palms went numb from tension. Later, I learned to hand the wheel to a passenger for a stretch. I kept both hands near, not gripping. I breathed and watched the road move. The passenger did not drive for me forever. The short release taught the body how to relax at the wheel. It was a small lesson in trust. Try a breathing pattern with me. Inhale for 3 counts. Hold 1 count. Exhale for 4 counts. On the inhale, think the single word trust. Let it be quiet in the head. On the exhale, imagine a small tension, leaving the shoulders. Do this for 5 cycles. Keep the voice low in the mind. Let each cycle be an act of practice. The breath helps the body learn the motion of leaning rather than gripping. Control often tries to solve tomorrow tonight. It rehearses meetings, imagines conversations, lists tasks until the chest feels full. If that happens now, guide the mind to a single small action. Choose one next step that matters most in the morning. Picture doing it simply. Then fold the rest into a small paper bird in the mind and place it on the sill. The bird does not fly away with a promise. It sits there and rests. You can open the window in the morning and let it take flight then. For tonight, the bird is not yours to chase. Visualize a garden gate at dusk. The gate is latched with a simple hook. You have carried a bundle of worries on your back. Now imagine slipping the bundle through the gate and lowering the latch. The garden holds those things for a season. It does not conceal them from truth. It keeps them in a place where tending can happen with sunlight and calm. The act of lowering the latch is trust in practice. Sometimes trust feels downright risky. That is honest. Risk is the shadow of care. When risk presses in, use a small token of trust. Take a coin, a bebul, a small button. Place it on the nightstand. When worry rises, pick the token up, feel its edges. Turn it over slowly. Tell it one brief idea about a thing you cannot fix tonight. Then set the token back down. The motion trains the hands to make small gestures of release. The mind follows the hands more often than we expect. Proverbs pairs trust with not leaning on our own understanding. Understanding has its place. It is useful during the day. But at night, understanding sometimes plays the role of an overactive guard. It believes watchfulness prevents harm. A tired guard becomes suspicious and noisy. Let the guard rest. Offer it a quiet chair. The chair holds the guard without demanding vigilance. The guard looks out from time to time but spends most of the night breathing. I ask you to try one more small ritual. Take a breath and name one thing you are tempted to control. Name it like a single word. Keep it short. Now imagine placing that word on a small boat on a calm lake. Watch the boat leave the shore. Notice the distance grow. The boat is not meant to disappear. It moves enough to change perspective. You are watching from solid ground. The watching is a kind of trust. 2. It allows the hand that holds the paddle to rest. Trust also means acknowledging limits. You will not be the maker of every outcome. That is not failure. It is fact. Saying this aloud in your mind can be freeing. Acknowledge I am doing what I can. I will rest from the rest. This is not surrender to chaos. It is choosing a boundary where care and work meet rest. Boundaries are acts of wisdom, not weakness. If control shows as repeated checking doors. Messages. Lists try a small delay ritual. Postpone the checking for 10 minutes. Use the 10 minutes to do a slow action. Fold a towel. Count 5 soft things in the room. Breathe. When the 10 minutes ends, check once and then close the eyes and rest. Training the mind to delay reduces the urgency that feeds the habit. Practice creates new pathways. There are nights when trust is easier to imagine than to inhabit. Be patient with the body. Use soft language in the mind. Say a single simple phrase, I am not alone in this. Do not press the phrase into performance. Let it be a quiet reminder, like the hum of a distant heater. The phrase is not an argument. It is a companionable sound. Sometimes trust looks like accepting help. If someone offers to take a burden for a stretch, accept the help. It is not a sign of failure. It is a recognition of interdependence. Let support be a real thing. Let hands relieve hands. The relief can be practical and small. A friend brings a meal. A neighbor waters a plant. A colleague checks off a small task. These are ways trust moves from idea into life. I say this as someone who reads scripture at night. The scripture asked for trust, not panic. It asked for a posture of heart. Heart posture moves the body. When the heart chooses trust, the hands unclench, the jaw softens, the eyes find a resting place. Night becomes a space to practice the posture without drama. If fear wakes you in the middle of the night, try a short practice. Sit up slowly. Place both feet on the floor. Take 3 slow breaths with the pattern we used before. Then walk slowly to the window. Look at a steady light outside. Let the eye rest. The simple bodily motion shifts the nervous system. Returning to bed after a brief ritual often makes sleep easier than lying still and rehearsing worst-case scenes. Control can also hide as a need for certainty. Certainty is not always possible. Living depends on tolerance for the unknown. Practice tolerating small unknowns. Tonight, choose one small unknown and sit with it for 5 minutes. Let curiosity, not fear, be your mood. Ask one gentle question about the unknown. Do not demand an answer. Let the question be enough. Curiosity loosens the hand that clutches certainty. Trust connects to a horizon image. When walking along a shoreline, the horizon does not hurry toward you. It waits. The sea has its rhythms. Trust asks for alignment with the rhythm, rather than an attempt to haul the horizon nearer. Align the steps with the tide. The step is faithful. The horizon remains steady. The faith is practical. As the reading slows, place a hand over the heart and one on the belly. Feel the rhythm of the breath. Think one brief phrase from the proverb, trust in the Lord. Let it come as a soft drum in the chest. If thoughts intrude, imagine them stepping aside like people in a hallway. They do not need an argument. The mental room is large enough for them to pass by and not crowd the center. If resistance appears, listen without judgment. Resistance often protects what it fears losing. Thank it mentally for its care, and then return to the practice. The heart can hold both feelings at once. You can acknowledge fear and still choose a small act of trust. Both things are true. I end this section with a simple invitation. Choose one small object to symbolize a surrendered control The object can be a pebble, a coin, a small ribbon. Hold it briefly. Give it a name that fits the worry or plan you will not solve tonight. Place it on the nightstand or under a cup on the sill. Each time the mind leaps to fix everything. Let the hand touch the object and then rest. The repeated touch trains a new habit. Or team. The hand will reach to rest before it reaches to grip. Now allow the voice to soften further. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out and let the shoulders fall. The night is a training field for trust. The exercises are small. The results travel slowly into the day. Let the lamp glow a little less. Let silence gather like a soft blanket. I will come back with another reading soon. The next piece leans into patience and the quiet courage to wait. For now, rest in the small acts of letting go. You have tried. May the practice of trust ease the chest and lengthen the breath. Place your hands where they rest best. Allow the eyelids to grow heavy. I stay here with you for a moment longer in the quiet. I open the Bible gently. The pages breathe. The lamp pools light on the page. The verse sits there like a small harbor, the peace of God, which transcends understanding, will guard your heart. I read it slowly and let the words rest between us. Peace that transcends understanding is not a tidy answer. It does not explain how the night will bend or how tomorrow will shape. It arrives like a hush that slides into a room. The hush does not have to prove itself. It simply steadies the air. Imagine a small garden at dusk. High, soft walls hold the wind back. Inside, the paths are stone and familiar. A single lantern sits by a bench. You walk to that bench. You sit. The world beyond the wall still moves. Inside the wall, motion eases. The garden is not magic. It is a protected place where the heart can stop running. The word guard does not mean alarm bells. Think of a sentinel who breathes with the hours. The sentinel does not shout. The sentinel watches with eyes that do not startle easily. The watch is constant, but quiet, when thoughts press like rain at the window. The sentinel keeps a steady hand on the latch. The latch holds. The storm sounds smaller. This peace works through the body. Feel the chest under a palm. Notice its pace. Breathing lengthens when the chest finds a rhythm. Place one hand over the heart. Now, place one hand on the belly. Breathe in for 3 counts. Hold 1. Breathe out for 4. As you exhale, imagine the guard taking a step forward. You do not have to understand why the step helps. You only notice that something shifts. The mind wants explanations. That is a faithful tool during the day. At night, the mind's light sometimes slides into worry. It wanders corridors of what if. Peace that transcends understanding does not refute each worry. It offers a presence that changes the room in which worries live. The light in the corridor grows warmer. The fear finds fewer shadows to hide behind. I keep the sentences short and steady. Short lines ease listening. They give room for the heart to follow without exhaustion. Present images fit the ear. They rest better than long arguments. Here is a small practice. Take a stone into the imagination. Make it smooth. Let it be a pale color. Hold it in the palm of the mind. Name the thing that troubles you with one brief word. Place the word on the stone, as if writing with a finger. Breathe. Set the stone at the edge of the garden path. Watch the sentinel take the stone into care. The watching is not a vanishing. It is an arrangement. The stone sits under deliberate watch. Its edges do not cut through the night air as sharply. Peace also feels like a coat left in a chair. The coat belonged to a season. It kept many burdens close. You can lift the coat, feel its weight, and choose to fold it. Folding does not erase the cold that demanded the coat. It simply redistributes the weight. The heart breathes a fraction easier when the coat rests, rather than when it is worn at all hours. Mercy moves quietly with this peace. Mercy arrives as the sentinel's voice when the heart trembles. Mercy does not lecture. It kneels. It smooths the hair back from the brow. It does not demand a story. It offers steadiness. This steadiness is practical. It is not a theological problem to solve. It is a steady hand that steadies hands. If worry wakes the night, listen. But do not let the worry be the only voice. Name the worry as a single item. Say it silently and place it in a small basket by the garden gate. Walk away. You may return later with a lantern. For now, the basket sits under watch. The guard keeps company. The heart is invited to rest. Find one small object near your bed. A pebble. A ribbon. A simple coin will do. Make this object a symbol of the peace that guards your heart. When a thought begins to reel, touch the object. Feel its texture. Move it a hair to the left and return your attention to breath. The motion trains the hands to act first instead of the mind. The hands are practical teachers. They ask the body to join the practice. Peace also protects memory. It does not erase lessons. It frames them. Think of a shelf with photos. Each photo has a frame. Some frames are bright, some are plain. The peace of God acts like a soft backing behind the frames. The images do not change. The backing holds them at a slight distance, so they do not press on the chest at all hours. You can look and remember without being flattened by the weight of recollection. I speak as one who reads these words at the bedside. I am not a mechanic of souls. I am a companion who offers small tools. The tools are simple, because the night asks for simplicity. Complex schemes stir the mind. Small practices still it. Try a breathing phrase now. Breathe in and think the single soft word, peace. Breathe out and think the phrase, guard my heart. Keep the words quiet. Let them match the breath. Do this for 5 cycles. The repetition does not fix every fear. It slowly alters the inner rhythm. Over time, the rhythm gathers a muscle memory of calm. Sometimes peace arrives like a lullaby. A tune has no urgency. It repeats. The melody becomes a steady place to land. If the mind becomes loud, hum a short phrase in the head as you breathe. A 2-note pattern is enough. The pattern does not need to compose meaning. It simply gives the ear a friend. If grief comes, receive it with gentleness. Grief is honest company. Let it be held. Place one hand over the place where grief lives. Breathe toward it. Imagine the sentinel sitting near, not to push grief away, but to keep it from running the night unchecked. Care can hold sorrow without becoming sorrow. That holding is a kind of guarded mercy. Do not confuse peace with passive avoidance. The guard is not absent. It watches and cares. It sometimes brings counsel in the light of morning. For now, the guard's task is to allow sleep to happen. It knows that rest repairs muscles of reason and hope. The next day, work will appear more presentable. Peace that transcends understanding often feels like a soft wall between you and the worst imaginings. It does not promise the absence of trouble. It promises steadiness through trouble. The difference is practical. When storms come, breathing patterns are sharper. The sentinel stands a little closer. Hands learn again how to open. If doubt says that you are not worthy of this peace, consider the analogy of a lighthouse. The lighthouse does not choose ships by their name. It shines. The light does not ask whether a boat deserves direction. The duty of the light is constant. The peace that guards the heart behaves like that light. Offer yourself permission to stand near it without argument. Practice a short ritual if sleep resists. Sit up slowly. Plant both feet on the floor. Touch the small object you chose earlier. Say one quiet phrase in your mind. I rest here for now. Sit back down. Breathe in peace. Breathe out, guard my heart. This small motion often resets the nervous system more effectively than wrestling with the thoughts while lying still. If fear visits in the middle of the night, do not act like it must be chased away. Watch it as one watches rain on a window pane. Notice the pattern. Name it once. Then return to the breath and the sentinel image. The rain passes. The guard keeps the window closed. Peace is not the absence of sound. It is the promise that the sound will not push you beyond your capacity this night. I anchor this part in a short story. A friend of mine keeps a tiny music box on the nightstand. The box plays a simple tune when opened. When worries crowd, the friend opens the box, listens, and breathes. The melody is not complex. It repeats 3 notes. The sound is enough. The music becomes a signal. It says rest is allowed now. The tune is small and practical. It trains the ear to accept the night as a place for repair. You might find your own simple ritual. A music box paint. A pebble moved. A lamp turned lower. The ritual is not performance. It is training. It teaches the body that rest can be a chosen work. The mind learns to expect the rest because the hands make it regular. Avoid pushing for immediate understanding of why peace arrives. The need to explain often keeps the mind active. Instead, notice the effect. Does the chest soften? Does the jaw unclench? Does the breath lengthen? These are good measures. They matter more than a tidy explanation tonight. Mercy, hope, and peace move together here. Mercy tends wounds. Hope offers a direction to look toward. Peace allows the heart to carry them both without coming undone. Each small act of breath and touch builds a network of steadiness that the day can rely on. Before I close this part, place one hand over your heart again. Breathe in the word peace. Breathe out the phrase, guard my heart. Let the breath grow gentle. Let the room listen. Let the sentinel in your imagination take its steady watch. I leave a few long breaths of silence. Now, use them to practice the rhythm. Let the breaths be the work for a moment. Do not rush the silence. In the quiet, the peace that transcends understanding can settle like a soft sheet. When you feel ready, allow the hands to fall. Let the eyelids grow heavy. Rest in the guarded hush. I will return with another reading soon. The next part will move gently toward assurance and the simple hope that morning brings. For now, stay with the breath. And the quiet sentinel, let the peace do its work. I read the lines slowly. Nothing can separate us from the love of God. I let the sentence rest in the air between us. My voice is soft. The lamp hushes its sound. The words are not a list to argue. They are an invitation to settle. Rest in the truth that love holds even when the night feels large. The claim does not erase pain. It does not promise a tidy ending. It offers a steady presence that does not retreat when storms rise. Hear that steadiness, like a distant bell. It rings in a pattern that does not demand explanation. It only asks for attention. Imagine a small harbor at night. A boat rocks lightly against an invisible line. The line runs deep into the sea floor. Its strength is not flashy. It is hidden. Waves press. Wind tries to tug. The boat does not vanish. It does not need to fight. The unseen tether holds. Picture the tether as love. It is steady below the surface, keeping the craft from drifting too far into fear. Place a hand over the heart now. Feel the rhythm beneath the palm. That rhythm is a kind of tether. 2. It keeps time. It repeats. When thoughts pull in many directions, the pulse steadies the body. It is a small proof that something keeps beating. Let that proof calm the mind for a moment. I tell a story from years ago. A friend of mine works with boats. He is used to weather and sudden dark. One night a squall came out of nowhere. The lights went grey. The radio hummed with static. Expected panic. Instead he felt something else, a practiced faith that the anchor would hold. He spoke once of how the anchor was not an answer to every fear. It simply kept the ship from being carried away. In the calm afterward, he sat on the deck and listened to the sea. He said the hours after the storm felt like a long exhale. The anchor had done what anchors do. My friend's relief was ordinary and visible. He was still wet and tired. He was less exhausted by worry. The presence of the anchor changed the night. Love works like that anchor. It is not a magic that removes all trouble. It creates a ground that lets the body rest. When I read the promise about nothing separating us, I picture that anchor. I picture that friend on the deck, letting the air into his lungs again. Try a small practice with this image. Close the eyes if it feels safe. Inhale slowly. Hold one small count. Exhale, and imagine a cord made of light dropping down from the chest. The cord is gentle. It anchors somewhere, deep and steady. Breathe in and feel the cord tug you a fraction toward calm. Breathe out and let the cord hold. Repeat 3 times. The motion is not a charm. It is training the senses to find a sense of being held. Another picture is a thread of gold. It runs through the days without fraying. It does not flash brightly. It follows along like a seam. Imagine a thread stitched through the center of a coat. The coat warms in the cold because the seam holds the lining close. The seam is hidden but faithful. The thought of a continuous seam gives a sense of garment that does not fall apart, even when worn rough. You might keep a small ribbon or thread beside the bed. Hold it in the fingers when anxiety knuckles at the throat. Feel its texture. Let it be a prompt to remember the claim. Nothing separates. The gesture trains the hands to find reassurance in a simple movement. Overteam. The ribbon can become a small ritual. The body learns to move toward the remembrance before the mind spirals. There are times when love feels distant, like a voice behind a closed door. That is honest. The way love holds is not always felt as warmth. Sometimes the holding is quiet persistence. Picture a tree with deep roots. Storms bend the branches. The roots do not budge. In the next season, leaves return. The root's steadiness is the same whether frost or sun. The root is love that does not measure worth or respond only to applause. It grips quietly. It keeps life possible. I share a small practice that leans on the image of roots. Sit or lie still. Imagine a pair of roots growing from your feet into the ground. They are patient. They go down a little every breath. With each exhale, the roots sink a hair deeper. With each inhale, the chest finds a fraction more ease. No hurry, no strain. Let the roots do their quiet work under the surface. The exercise is slow and practical. It helps the body understand that being held does not require constant effort. The promise that nothing can separate us is not an argument that suffering will vanish. It is an assurance that love does not withdraw. When grief arrives, love stays. When fear knocks, love waits by the door. That waiting is important. Waiting is an active posture. It is not indifferent. It is a long attention offered without clamor. If guilt or shame whispers that love is not for you, try meeting that whisper with a small, gentle fact. Speak one short sentence. In the mind I am known. Keep it simple. Do not argue with the whisper. Offer the short sentence like a light you can hold for a moment. The mind does not need to be convinced in a long speech. A single, steady phrase is enough to shift the feel of the night. I remember an older woman who kept a small stone in her pocket. She did not speak of theology. When pressed, she touched the stone when she passed the cemetery on the way home. The stone was only a stone, but in the moments when memory crowded her, the stone felt like a hand. She said later that the stone did not make the grief disappear. It made the grieving less lonely. When I read Romans at her bedside years ago, the stone habit came back in my mind. It is a simple witness that small things connect us to larger truths. You might choose a similar practice. Find a small, reassuring object. Keep it within reach. When night stirs with questions, hold the object. Breathe toward the object. Let the fingers recall a larger claim. Nothing separates. The hands are better at learning patterns than the anxious mind. Let the fingers train the mind to pause. Another exercise uses voice lightly. Keep the tone in the head. Inhale and think the word held. Exhale and think the word loved. Keep the words soft. Match them to the breath. The sound is not a creed to recite. It is a rhythm to steady the body. 5 cycles are enough. The voice in the mind likes patterns. The pattern teaches the nervous system to quiet. When the mind searches for proof, it often wants a list. A list will not do tonight. Evidence in long form wakes the thinking brain. Tonight the small practices matter more. Notice one steady proof you already have. A neighbor's light across the street. The thrum of a refrigerator that never pauses. A radio humming in another room. These ordinary things are small signs that the world continues. They are gentle proof that connection exists even in low lighting. If loneliness presses, imagine a long table with one extra place set. The place is not empty because no one cares. It is empty because waiting is part of the care. Love reserves room. That reserved space is an assurance. It says return if you need to, rest if you cannot. Do not mistake the quiet for absence. The quiet can be the shape of attentive presence. I keep the sentences short, because the night listens better that way. The present tense keeps the image immediate. The ear does not tire chasing future arguments. It rests in simple scenes. If the past feels like a chain, think instead of a ring. A ring can be held in the palm and admired. It keeps its shape without locking the hand. Take a mental ring in the mind. Turn it gently between thumb and finger. Let it be a symbol that connections can be held without being trapped. The ring is a reminder that belonging sometimes looks like possession, but it need not be a prison. Sleep sometimes resists because the mind holds onto the problem it believes must be solved overnight. Offer a small trade. Swap the heavy thought for a single, tiny image of love. A flame on a distant hill. A child's hand held by a parent. A dog's steady breathing. Keep that image small and repeat it softly as breath matches. The smallness keeps the mind from spinning out into large pretend solutions. It grounds attention. This promise of love can be practical. 2. If panic rises, press the feet into the floor or the mattress. Feel gravity do some work. Slowly move the shoulders in a circle. Notice how the small motions change the feel of tension. The body is a faithful barometer. When it shifts, the mind often follows. I close this reading with a gentle blessing. May the truth that nothing separates you find a small entry point tonight. May the tether hold you when the waves press. May the thread run through the seams of the day and keep the garment from falling apart. May the roots reach deeper with each breath. Rest now with the feel of being held. Keep a small object near if it comforts. Breathe slowly. Let the lamp dim. I will return with the next reading when the hour asks for more. For now, lie still and know that love stays. I open the Bible again and let the page settle. The lamp makes a small island of light. I read the lines slowly. Faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. The words land like a soft footstep. They do not rush. They do not demand answers. They invite a quiet imagination. I sit with that image for a moment. A seed is tiny. It fits in the hollow of the hand. It is ordinary. It does not look like a machine of change. Yet, given soil and time, it does what seeds do. It begins. The beginning is the important part. The beginning is emotion. It is a small act of trust. I remember a time when a tiny motion brought a noticeable change. The memory is not dramatic. It is a small domestic scene. It is a story of ordinary faith. It comforts me when fear tries to stretch the night long. The town where I lived then was small and patient. People kept simple things, a radio that hummed, a porch light that blinked, the smell of bread at dawn. A winter came with more cold than usual. A heater failed in a house across the street. The house belonged to a woman who lived alone. Neighbors spoke softly about the problem. The issue felt too large for any one person. The weather was too fierce for easy fixes. I had little to offer. I did not have the money for a professional repair. What I did have was a small, clear decision to try one small thing. I went to the shed and found an old blanket. It was patchwork, and it smelled faintly of cedar. I put the blanket in my arms and walked to the porch of the neighbor's house. The act itself is small. I do not tell it as a grand gesture. It was a simple opening of a door and the laying down of cloth. The woman thanked me with a nod that did not aim for performance. She folded the blanket over her knees. The blanket warmed her in the way blankets do. The night did not end because of the cloth. The heater remained broken. Yet something shifted in the room. The edges of worry pulled in a little. In the days that followed, neighbors took turns bringing soup and small comforts. Someone fixed the stove by borrowing a part from another town. A call to a local volunteer brought a temporary heater. The repairs were practical and slow. None of them were the work of one great hand. They were tiny hands doing small things. The small acts gathered into a response that looked like a mountain, moved a hair. I tell you this because mountains are often metaphors for things that feel immovable. Sickness, fear, hard loss, a broken plan. The mustard seed promise does not say, all mountains vanish at once. It says, a small faith can set change in motion. The change is often slow. It is often communal. It invites one small offering, and then another, and another. I read that line as a bedside promise. It feels like a permission slip to act without grand certainty. The permission is practical. It asks only for emotion, something simple and reachable at night. The night can feel like a mountain. The breath is a tool to begin. Try a small practice with me. Find a tiny object near your bed. A pebble. A coin. A seed, if you have one. Hold it in the palm. Feel its weight. Let the fingers relax around it. Breathe in, breathe out. With the inhale, think the single word begin. With the exhale, imagine placing the object gently on the nightstand. The motion is not a spell. It trains the hands to make small, consistent moves when the mind wants a dramatic fix. Repeat this for 3 breaths. Each time, the act of holding and placing becomes a small rehearsal of faith. The body learns the motion of starting. The mind learns that beginning does not require solving everything at once. A small movement is real and repeatable. It is a tiny obedience. It does work. Faith often looks like that, a gentle repetition. It is the long habit of small offerings. In my life, the most reliable changes come that way. They begin modestly. They persist quietly. Over time, they gather into relief. There is a caution in my telling. Do not expect immediate fireworks. Night is patient. It allows repair to happen slowly. The mustard seed grows beneath the soil where hands cannot always see. The visible part comes later. For now, the practice is the small stepping. I name one more memory. A friend once planted a tree in a city corner where the wind was sharp. The spot seemed absurd to many. The ground was packed and the street noisy. The tree sapling was no more than a twig with a stubborn root. The act of putting it into the earth looked like a futile hope. Yet the friend watered it a little each week. Passers-by began to notice the persistence. Someone brought compost. A child tied a ribbon to one low branch. Years later, that thin sapling became a small tree that held migrating birds for a season. The corner softened. The work was not visible every day. It was steady enough to accumulate. Faith resembles that planting. It is consistent, not theatrical. It asks for tending. It asks for one return after another. The same principle applies to sorrow and to hope. The nights that seem endless give way to morning because someone continues the small work of caring. If doubt rises while you hold that tiny object, notice it without alarm. Doubt is often the mind's attempt to protect you from hurt. Say a brief phrase, inwardly. A small act is enough now. Keep the sentence short. The ear prefers a simple rhythm. Let the breath take the sentence as a companion. I also suggest a gentle image to take into sleep. Picture a small hill under moonlight. A pebble sits at its base. You pick up the pebble and place it on the slope. It slides a hair toward the top. You do this again and again. Each drop is small. The pebble moves inch by inch. Eventually, the pebble reaches the top. A tiny avalanche begins. The mountain does not disappear, but its shape alters. You are not alone in the motion. Hands and time and small acts gather. Another practical exercise is this: take one small task that matters tomorrow. Make a list of one item only. It can be as modest as watering a plant or sending a single message. Write it on a small scrap. Fold the scrap once. Put it beside the tiny object you held earlier. The act of folding is an offering. The folded scrap is a mustard seed in paper form. It frees the mind from rehearsing every step tonight. One small act done in the morning can tilt a larger scene. I read scripture aloud in soft tones because the night answers gentle sound. The Bible's line about the mustard seed is less a demand for belief than an invitation to begin. It asks for motion. The motion can be practical and small. It can be an ordinary kindness. It can be the discipline to tend one small thing again tomorrow. When the weight of a mountain is a worry about a relationship, the small acts might be humility, a short note, a practice of listening. When the mountain is health, the acts may be a call to a doctor, a small change in diet, or a short walk at dawn. When the mountain is fear of the future, the act may be a plan that covers one small tomorrow. Each act is a mustard seed. Each one moves the stones a little. I avoid grand promises tonight. The night does not need them. It needs tenderness. It needs permission to try one small step. It needs the assurance that small faith joins with steady care to produce real change. It needs the knowledge that the act you can do tonight has value. The value is not only for the mountain, it is for the body that carries the mountain. If sleep elude us, return to the object in your palm. Feel its edges. Turn it slowly. Let the breath match the turning. Imagine the slow movement of a seed pushing through soil. Picture the first green. Do not demand to see the entire tree. Let the first green be enough for now. I close this part with a short blessing. May the small act you can offer tonight be a mustard seed. May it be large enough to begin. May it be small enough to do without strain. May faith and love join in that beginning to nudge the mountain a little. Rest with the quiet confidence that small things, done again, become a way through. I will return with the next reading soon. For now, place the tiny object on the nightstand. Let the hand fall open. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out and let the body follow the rhythm. Trust the smallness. Trust the steady work of care. Sleep now, and rest in the quiet movement of a little faith. I read Romans 1:2 slowly. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The sentence rests in the room like a small lamp. It asks for a gentle shift. It does not demand a sudden change. Picture the mind as a window. Over the day, dust gathers. Thoughts and worries smear the glass. The view grows dim. The renewing of the mind looks like taking a soft cloth and wiping the pain. Not a scrub that scratches. A slow, careful wipe that lets light come back in. The scene outside does not vanish. It simply returns to clearer focus. Begin tonight with one small clearing. Close the eyes. Put a hand on the forehead. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out. As the inhale arrives, imagine the cloth lifted. As the exhale moves, picture a band of light passing across the glass. Do this 3 times. The image is simple. The motion trains the senses to expect clarity. Renewal is not a grand repainting. It resembles changing a single curtain in a room that feels cluttered. One fresh fabric makes the space softer. The new color does not negate the old patterns. It gently alters how the light falls. That is the kind of change Scripture invites. It begins in small moves repeated. I invite a tiny practice I use at the bedside. Choose a short phrase from Scripture that settles the heart. Keep it no longer than 5 words. Place it in the mind like a small stone. Tonight, my phrase is simply, you are near. Repeat it in rhythm with the breath. Inhale and hold the phrase for a moment. Exhale and let it rest. The rhythm becomes a small muscle. The mind learns that attention can return gently. Again and again, thoughts will wander. That is natural. The renewing of the mind does not mean forcing away every stray idea. It means training the hands of attention to set a small lamp beside the wandering thoughts. Watch the thoughts float past like leaves. Do not chase them. Let the lamp be the steady thing you return to. Another image helps. Think of a garden bed. Some weeds grow quietly in the dark corners. Renewal asks for a simple weeding. Pull one small weed tonight. Replace it with a seed of truth. Truths are like herbs planted in the soil. A sprig of rosemary might stand for peace. A small thyme plant might stand for patience. Each night you tend one tiny patch or team. The garden changes. The ground becomes easier to walk on. I tell a short, quiet story from my own life. I keep it simple. There are seasons when thoughts spin like laundry in a machine. The hum distracts. I learn to take one cloth out at a time. I fold it with care. Folding is slow. Folding teaches the hands that order trumps panic. The folded cloth goes into a neat stack. The pile grows. The room feels lighter. That folding becomes a nightly ritual. The ritual trains the mind to stop the spin. A practical exercise follows. Sit or lie with a slight upright. Place a small cloth in the hand. Feel its texture. Imagine it wiping the inside of the skull itself, not the outside. Breathe in and let a word of truth sit on the cloth. Breathe out and smooth the cloth across the mind. The word could be mercy. It could be peace. Choose one. Keep it short. Repeat for few smooth movements. The cloth does the work of habit. Renewal of mind often starts with what enters the ears. Words shape the inner room. If harsh words have lived there all day, offer a kinder line tonight. Read it aloud softly, or hold it in the mind. A single gentle sentence repeated in the dark becomes a new melody for the heart. The brain listens in rhythms. Rhythms change what the brain expects. We practice replacing one worn phrase with one healing phrase. For example, change I am not enough into I am tended. The second is not a boast. It is a fact of care. Speak the new phrase slowly. Let it rest in the chest. Allow the breath to fold around it. The renewing of the mind also includes memory work, not by erasing the past, but by resettling it on a shelf. Imagine a small wooden shelf with cubby holes. Each memory fits into a cubby. Painful ones have felt like them spilled into the center of the room. Tonight, place one memory gently into a cubby. Close the small door. Feel the relief of clearing the floor. The action is symbolic and practical. It trains the hands to give the past a place without letting it occupy the whole house. If guilt sits heavy, try a folding practice. Take a soft slip of imagined paper. Name the guilt with one brief phrase. Fold the paper twice. Lay it in a box, made gentle by an image of light. Slide the lid closed. The movement is not denial. It is an act of wise containment. The mind learns that things can be known without being worn as armor. Keep the sentences short as the evening asks. Short sentences give the ear room. They invite the breath to match the voice. Long sentences wake the thinking brain. Here, the breath is the teacher. Renewal asks for patience. Do not expect a sudden overhaul. Think of the tide. Each small wave moves a grain of sand. After many waves, the shore looks different. The mind renews similarly. Small attentions return the room to a livable state. When the mind insists on rehearsing future trials, tether it to the present. Use the 5 sense anchor. Name one thing you see, one thing you hear, one thing you feel. Let the listing be quiet. The act draws attention out of anxious projection and into immediate steadiness. It is a small practice. It is effective. Another nightly habit I offer is a brief mental inventory. Not an audit that judges, a gentle count. Name one kindness you received. Name one small thing you did that did not demand much. Name one place where mercy touched you. However slight, let those 3 items be a soft stool the mind can sit on. The stool steadies. Renewal also comes through replacing arguments with wonder. When the mind wants to argue about why things go wrong, slow it with a question of awe. Ask, what beauty do I not yet see? The question is not a denial of pain. It is an opening to what remains beyond immediate view. Wonder softens the self-defensive edges. It invites curiosity, which is kinder than fear. I keep teaching the breath. Inhale for 3 counts. Hold 1. Exhale for 4. Place the phrase, be renewed on the inhale. Place the phrase, be gentle on the exhale. Do this 6 times. The pattern is small. The body learns to associate renewal with the expanded exhale. The longer out-breath teaches release. Be mindful of the company your thoughts keep. Thoughts are social in a way. They invite other thoughts to sit down. If the company is harsh, introduce a kinder guest. A scriptural line or a memory of a calm place can be that guest. Let the new guest tell a single short story. The mind will notice the difference. Sometimes the renewing of mind asks for physical changes in the room. Move one object slightly. Turn the lamp to a lower setting. Place a book with a comforting phrase on the nightstand. Small rearrangements change the roots. The eyes take. The brain follows. It learns new habits of noticing. If sleep remains thin, imagine a small workshop inside the head. Tools sit on a pegboard. There is a soft hammer and a gentle brush. Tonight, pick the brush. Sweep away one small dust patch of thought. The workshop image gives permission to repair slowly. It reduces the pressure to be finished tonight. Renewal connects with forgiveness. When the mind replays a fault, place a hand over the heart. Breathe toward the place. Speak a single phrase, I am learning. Let the phrase be soft. Let it echo. The echo works as a small balm. Over time, the tone of the inner voice shifts. Hope lives in small habits. If mornings are hard, script one short line to start the day. A single sentence on a scrap of paper can become a seed. Put it where the morning hand finds it. Let the hand follow the habit before the mind jumps. Habits are gentle scaffolding for the renewed mind. Be patient with relapses. They happen. The mind is old in its patterns. Patterns require repetition to change. Each night you return to the small practices. You build new neural tracks. The work is tender and steady. If doubt says these actions are childish, answer with a practical fact. Tiny practices work because the body learns them. The body does not argue. It remembers. Trust the slow memory of the muscles and the breath. They are faithful teachers. I offer a closing ritual. Choose one soft object for the night. A handkerchief, a small, smooth stone, a folded scrap of cloth. Hold it for a moment. Place it on the chest. Breathe 3 calm breaths. On each inhale, think the word renew. On each exhale, think the word rest. Then lay the object on the nightstand as a witness to the small work begun. Before I leave this spot, I read the verse once more. Quietly be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Let the words settle. Let the simple practices settle with them. The night is an ally in this work. Sleep allows the small repairs of thought to occur without pressure. I end with a brief blessing. May small changes find you tonight. May the lamp of truth sit beside the wandering thoughts. May mercy take your hardest memory in a soft hand and set it on a shelf. Rest, now with the mind tending itself in small, steady ways. I stay here a while longer in the quiet. When you wake, begin with one tiny act. Repeat it. Let the renewal grow like a quiet garden under patient care. I open the Bible and let the verse sit between us. I read slowly, "Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength." The words land like a soft push. They do not force a change. They offer a place to begin. Tonight, I tell a story about someone dear. My mother is the one I think of. The memory is not grand. It is quiet and steady. It helps me believe that strength comes in small measures. She grows older in seasons that require gentleness. Years ago, an illness comes like a heavy cloud. It does not take everything at once. It takes in small pieces. Energy thins. Plans shrink. She learns how to move with less force. At first, the change feels like loss. The hands that once lifted large things now lift a mug. The steps that crossed a field now cross the kitchen. Pride presses against the ribs. There is a rawness in the mornings. The house seems larger when the errands fight for attention. Yet strength arrives in unlikely ways. It is not a dramatic rush. It comes as a habit. She begins with tiny tasks. A stretch at dawn. A short walk down the hall. The exercises the therapist shows are simple. Lift the arm like a wing. Hold it for a small count. Let it rest. Repeat. The movements look small. The results are slow. Over time, a seam appears, where weakness once pulled apart the fabric. A muscle remembers how to respond. The heart learns to trust a breath again. Each small motion is a thread in a larger mending. Hope becomes a practice for her. It is not a feeling that waits for a perfect morning. It is an action she chooses each day. Before the light spills full into the kitchen, she sits by the window. A cup warms her hands. The same chair invites her every dawn. The ritual is modest. It keeps the body from running a marathon it cannot finish. It asks only that she show up. Neighbors notice the change first. Quiet visits happen. A friend brings a loaf. Another drops off a quilt. These are practical gifts. They are also permission slips. The gifts say you are visible. You are held. The presence of care softens the edges of fatigue. There are nights she cannot lift the blanket without help. There are mornings when talking wears her thin. Still, she keeps a small shelf of promises. A single line from scripture lives there on a folded card. Some mornings she reads it with her eyes closed. Some evenings she speaks it into the pillow. The words do not solve the limits. They steady the hands that must work within them. The image Isaiah uses helps her. Think of an eagle. I say sometimes, as I read the verse aloud beside her bed, eagles do not flap without need. They wait for thermals. Then they rise. The waiting is part of the skill. Strength shows as timing rather than force. She smiles at the picture. Strength that waits is less humiliating. It allows the body to conserve what it has and to use it at the right moment. A practice grows from that image. When exhaustion comes like a tide, she rests in a way that is active and patient at once. Hands fold. Breath lengthens. The posture is a small surrender. It does not yield to despair. It says, I will save what I can for the next step. The next step might be small. A walk to the mailbox. A tender phone call. Washing a plate slowly until the water feels warm. These acts add up. They are not dramatic. But they train a different kind of courage. The courage is simple to keep showing up to small things. Community becomes part of the strength. People give help in ways that fit the night's mood. One neighbor arrives early with tea. Another brings a newspaper folded gently. A volunteer helps with the heavy tasks. None of these remove the need for rest. They share it. Shared burdens feel lighter. The body learns that asking for help is not defeat. It is a practical rearrangement of resources. Prayer appears as breath and gesture, not as speech, not a performance. A short sentence breathed at the pause between tasks. A hand placed lightly over the heart. Inhaling in. Exhaling out. The prayer is a small tether. It does not force outcomes. It invites presence. It shapes the moment into something less frantic. There is a night that stays with me. The storm outside is loud and immediate. Wind presses at the windows. The house answers with small creaks. Sleep does not come easily. My mother sits upright for a time. The lamp is low. She tells me once, in a small voice, that fear feels like a tight knot in the throat. The knot wants to command the night. So a practice begins. A towel lies on the arm of a chair. She wraps it around her shoulders like wings. The action is symbolic and practical. The towel brings warmth. It is also a cue for the body to find steadiness. She breathes with the towel there. Each breath loosens the knot a fraction. The night does not dissolve. The chest eases. Hope continues to be patient work. On a slow afternoon, she plants a small pot of basil on the sill. The soil is simple. The seed is small. She waters with a small cup. The plant does not grow overnight. It takes its time. Yet the act of tending gives a reason to move, to water, to watch. The hands that cannot lift a heavy bag can still press soil around a seed. That motion returns a sense of agency. Agency is medicine. Physical therapy plays a part. Sessions are short. They focus on what the body can do, not on shame. A steady routine emerges. Warm-up, gentle resistance, short rest. Repeat. The body responds to the coaxing. Muscle remembers what motion feels like. The reward is not in dramatic leaps. It is in a hand that steadies itself to lift a cup without shaking. Her faith meets reality in small ways. Hope does not cancel pain. It arranges the day differently. On days when the sky is full of grey, she allows sitting to be the work. On brighter days, she goes further. The practice is flexible. It respects limits while refusing to let them define every moment. A time comes when she must face something larger. A procedure is scheduled. The waiting room hums with the low noise of other people's care. Anxiety presses at the ribs. Strength shows differently then. It looks like breath held steady through the hours. It looks like a willingness to let doctors do their job. It looks like the network of friends who bring a casserole and a book. After the procedure, fatigue depends. Progress is slower than hoped. Frustration visits. To meet it, she returns to the small motions that have helped before. A stretch in the morning, a short walk to the fence, the neighbor's cat to pet. Each small action becomes a promise kept. The practice keeps hope intact. I watch how weakness reveals a gentle kind of faith. When the body cannot run, the soul learns how to wait without panic. Waiting becomes not a passive resignation, but a quiet vigilance. The vigil uses small routines as its tools. A song hummed while folding laundry. A line of scripture read before the kettle whistles. A brief pause of gratitude for the hand that arrives at the door. The community's care deepens. People step in with different gifts. One friend reads aloud when the words on a page grow blurry. Another brings a simple recorder so stories can be captured in a voice. A close neighbor sits in the yard with a thermos. They watch clouds for a long while. The simplest company can be the most sustaining. Strength grows like a river made of small streams. Each stream is an act of attention. Each act alone is not enough to carry a heavy load. Together they make a flow. Hope is the source of that flow. It is not a boast. It is a choice to place trust in the steady work of care and the presence that watches. At times my mother talks about the days she feels most small. She calls them honest mornings. She breathes and names the truth. The body is tired. Then she places one hand over her chest and another over her belly. She breathes with a slow count. Inhale for 3. Hold 1. Exhale for 4. The pattern helps. It trains the nervous system to expect rhythm. This routine becomes my nightly gift to you as well. When fatigue presses tonight, try the breath with me. Place a hand on the chest. Place a hand on the belly. Breathe in 3. Hold 1. Breathe out 4. With each exhale, imagine a small renewal. Do not expect a miracle. Expect a soft shift. Let the breath be a tiny door to steadiness. There is a day when the progress feels visible, not dramatic, not headline material. A walk to the mailbox without help. A laugh that comes without an edge. The change is modest. It is enough. It reminds us that strength appears in steps, not in leaps. The steps accumulate. Weakness changes the way people relate. It removes pretense. It makes requests simple. People no longer need grand words to know what is needed. A dropped dish is not an indictment. It is a signal for a hand. Asking for help becomes less shameful and more honest. In that honesty, a certain tenderness grows. I read the verse again in the low light. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. The promise sits like a careful hand on the shoulder. It does not erase the reality of smallness. It does not ask for performance. It invites a posture of waiting with trust. Waiting becomes active when coupled with small practices. If worry nags, name a single small thing that matters tomorrow. One item only. Write it down. Fold the paper. Put it beside a glass of water. The simple act frees the mind from rehearsing every possible failure. The brain is allowed a boundary for the night. If sorrow visits, let it be seen. Offer it a seat at the edge of the room. Let it speak. Then, with a patient cadence, return to the breath. The breath is not a denial. It is an anchor. Over time, the heart learns to carry sorrow without being consumed by it. My mother does not become a new person. The limits remain. They are part of her story. What changes is the weight she carries and who carries it with her. The presence that steadies is both the human hands that help and the quiet promise that sits in her. Hope makes that promise practical. As I close this part of the reading, place both hands where they rest best. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out slowly. Think the single phrase, "Hope renews my strength." Let it be gentle. Let it repeat quietly with the breath. No need to argue it into truth. Let the phrase be a small lamp beside the bed. A short blessing follows. May the nights of weakness be places where help can come. May the small acts you try tonight gather into a tide. May hope hold you like an anchor when the waves press. Rest now. I stay with you in this calm. I will return in the next part with more quiet words and small practices to carry you toward morning. I open the Bible with a slow hand. The lamp makes a pale circle on the page. I read a line from Jeremiah with a quiet voice. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans for hope and a future. The words rest between us like a soft promise. I do not unpack doctrine tonight. I hold the phrase like a small lantern. The lantern does not answer every question. It gives a path of light for the next few steps. I keep my sentences short. I keep my voice lower. The night listens best that way. Plans feel like a map drawn across a long table. The paper is wide. It shows a route that bends. It marks fields and small towns. A hand has drawn it thoughtfully. The lines do not erase the rough places. They simply offer direction. Imagine the map in your mind. Lay it on the bed beside you. Let your fingers trace one quiet route. You do not need to travel it now. You only need to know it exists. Prosper and not to harm sounds like a careful gardener tending rows. The gardener prunes gently. He pulls weeds with care. He waters what the plants can use. He does not rush a tree into fruit. He watches the roots grow deeper. Picture a garden at dusk. The sun cools. The dirt smells steady. The gardener's hands are patient. The work is long and ordinary. The promise of growth is slow and kind. Hope and a future sit like a window that opens toward morning. The window does not promise a gold sunrise every day. It promises the rhythm of dawn. There will be mornings. Some will be soft. Some will be sharp. The window tells you that time keeps moving. Let that be enough for tonight. I offer a gentle practice for this promise. Take a small piece of paper. Keep it near the lamp. Write one small hope on it. Do not ask for a miracle. Ask for one gentle thing. It can be as simple as a clearer thought in the morning. Fold the paper twice. Hold it for a moment. Put it in a cup of water on the nightstand, or slip it under a small stone. The act is tiny. It makes the hope a thing you can touch. It trains the hands to place the future somewhere quiet. If writing feels like too much, choose an object instead. A button, a coin, a pebble. Call it your little promise, token. Put it in the left pocket of your blanket. When worry presses at 2 in the morning, reach without turning on the light. Feel the token. Let its weight remind you of the map, the gardener, the open window. The hands learn faster than the mind. The touch becomes a small proof. Plans do not erase fear. They do not promise a tidy path. They give a shape to worry that is less wild. Imagine building a small staircase. Each step is one thing you can do. Each step is modest. Some nights you climb 2 steps. Some nights you only steady yourself at the bottom. The staircase matters because each step makes a place to stand. Hope is the courage to go to the next step tomorrow. I tell a short story from my life. It is simple and unadorned. A few years ago I had a thin season of work and sleep. The days blurred. One morning I made a small list of 3 things. The list was humble. It held a cup of tea, a call to a friend, and a walk around the block. I folded the list and kept it in my pocket. The little acts did not fix everything. They shifted the weight. The next week I made another list. The lists became a pattern. The pattern looked less like grand answers and more like a practical plan that quietly prospered small corners of my day. Hope is often practical in this way. It asks for the next tiny responsibility rather than for every future solved. It invites patience. It allows small gains to add up. It refuses to demand a horizon all at once. If worries insist on cataloguing all possible harms, try a small counter-practice. Name one fear in a single word, then name one small counter-image. For the fear of being alone, the counter-image might be a neighbor's porch light, left on. For the fear of losing work, the counter-image might be a single saved receipt, or a friend who can advise. Keep the images small. Place them beside each other in the mind. Let the counter-image act like a steadying hand. I read the verse again with very soft pacing. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans for hope and a future. Let the cadence settle in the chest. Breathe with it. On the inhale, think the word plans. On the exhale, think the word hope. Repeat this 5 times. The pairing is not an argument. It is a rhythm that trains the lungs and the ear. Promises sometimes feel like contracts from which you can withdraw. But these promises are different. They behave more like letters left on a windowsill. The letters arrive without a demand for immediate reply. You read them in time. You fold them back and keep them where you can find them later. Imagine a bundle of letters in the morning light. Each one contains a single line of care. The promise in Jeremiah looks like one of those letters. It sits on the sill. It is patient. Safety is not always physical. Sometimes safety feels like a routine that softens the edges of worry. Make one small safety for the night. A glass of water at the bedside. a warmed blanket, a list folded into a pocket. These are not dramatic shields. They are steady preparations. They show that care can be simple. If guilt keeps the night awake, place it on the page you folded earlier. Name it with a single breath. Say the name slowly in the mind. Then imagine putting the folded paper into a small envelope called tomorrow. You do not need to send the letter tonight. You only need to file it gently. The act of filing frees the hands and the chest. Plans for the future often arrive in community. Think of a row of small lanterns set along a path. One lantern is your prayer. One is a friend's kindness. One is a practical help you expect tomorrow. Together, they light more than one lamp alone. If you can, tell one trusted person a small plan in the morning. Ask for one small help if you need it. The joining of hands multiplies the light. I mention the body because the body is how we live. Hope. Place a hand over your heart. Place another on your belly. Breathe slowly. Let the breath lengthen. Each breath reminds the body that there is time ahead. The ribs open. The shoulders lower. The physical relaxation is part of the promise. It is not separate from the words. It is how words find a home. If your future feels uncertain, practice making one small booking with time itself. Choose a single future hour to tend something that matters. A phone call at noon. A slow walk tomorrow evening. Mark it on a scrap and fold it into the cup near the bed. The mark gives tomorrow a simple shape. Having one defined small thing calms the mind's tendency to rehearse all possible disasters at once. Hope is patient. It is not a frantic demand. It waits like winter, waiting for a single green bud. Sometimes hope looks like the patient tending of a small plant on a kitchen sill. Water on schedule. Light when possible. Touching the soil with a gentle finger. The promise is not that the plant will be a tree tomorrow. The promise is that the plant is tended. If despair whispers that promises are too good to be true, meet it with two small facts. First, promises do not always present themselves as fireworks. They show as steady attention. Second, you have practiced small acts before. Call to mind one small repetition you have kept. Let that memory be proof that tiny practices can change a day. Keep both facts gentle and short. Tonight I offer one larger practice that uses many of these small steps. Find a bowl. Keep it on your nightstand. Each night this week, place one small token into the bowl. A pebble for peace. A coin for provision. A scrap for a specific hope. Watch the bowl grow a little each night. In the morning, open the bowl. Read none of the scraps if you do not want to. Feel the weight of the bowl as a witness that hopes were placed. The bowl becomes a small archive of faithfulness. I stay careful with words. I avoid grand theology. I aim for the practical. The promise in Jeremiah sits as an invitation to quiet action rather than a demand for certainty. It asks for small trust. It offers patient hope. I end with a short breath practice. Breathe in slowly for 3 counts. Think the word plans. Hold 1 count. Breathe out for 4 counts. Think the word hope. Repeat this 6 times. Let the rhythm be a small drum under the night. Let your shoulders soften as the pattern repeats. A blessing closes this part. May the small plans you place tonight hold you gently. May the little rituals you try gather into a steady hand. May hope find room in your chest like light through a small open window. Rest now. I remain beside the lamp. I will return with more soft readings for the night ahead. For now, lie still and let the promise breathe with you. Shazan, comfort in his presence. Psalm 234. I read the lines slowly. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. The voice is low. The room listens. The lamp makes a small, steady pool of light. The rest of the room stays soft. A friend comes to mind. The memory is simple. It is an ordinary life pressed by night. She is not a character in a sermon. She is a neighbor, a sister, a steady presence in a small town. One winter she walks through a long shadow. The shadow feels like a valley. It is not a single day. It is a season. The valley has many shapes. Hospital corredor, a house emptied of a presence. A long night after a bad report. The path is narrow, and the sky seems low. Breath comes short. The hands grip the blanket too tight. Sleep retreats. The valley feels like a tunnel with a small light at better days. That light feels far. I remember how she described the comfort. She does not use big words. She tells small things. A footstep beside hers. A hand on the small of her back. A presence that never leaves the edge of sleep. Hearing her say the word comfort feels like listening to someone who has learned to notice small proofs. She pictures a companion walking at her shoulder. The companion does not shout. The companion walks with soft steps. The steps do not snap the silence. They match her pace. When the road becomes rough, the companion reaches out. A hand steadies her elbow. A voice does not lecture, but names what is needed. Move here. Rest now. Take the small turn. That naming is not a long speech. It is a guiding tone. It is practical. It is the difference between stumbling and walking with less fear. The valley brings shadows. Shadows look large at night. They lengthen on the wall. They try to make small things into threats. In the companion's presence, the shadows change shape. They keep their edge, but they become known things. A shadow becomes a stone rather than a monster. Knowing what the shape is reduces the mind's loudness. She tells of a night when fear wanted to take the whole room. The heart pounds. The thoughts go fast. Slepides. In the dark, a memory rises. It rehearses every possible loss. The chest tightens and wants to act. Panic beats a short drum. In the middle of that noise, she feels a hand on her shoulder. The hand is not heavy. It is steady. It keeps the spine from folding in. The hand says, without words, you are not alone. The phrase does not need loudness. It is a breath that steadies another breath. Comfort shows up in small, practical things. 2. A blanket folded over the knees. A glass of water set within reach. A note left on the table. Warm socks at the foot of the bed. These acts are not dramatic. They are acts of presence. Presence itself has textures. It can be warmth near the ear. It can be the sound of someone breathing nearby. It can be the steady creak of a chair that says, I am here. These textures enter the night and make a different story possible. The night is still hard. It still holds the valley. But the valley is not a place of solitary wandering. Sometimes presence comes as a tool, a staff to lean on, a lantern to carry, a compass in the pocket. The staff steadies the step. The lantern shows the next stone. The compass points a small, true direction. These are not solutions to every problem. They are enough to keep the feet moving. I invite a small practice with this image. Place a hand lightly on the shoulder. Feel the skin. Picture the friend's steady hand there. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let the exhale say the short phrase, not alone. Do this 3 times. The motion is tiny. The act trains the body to expect company. If fear speaks loudly, name one sound that is softer. A slow clock, the hush of curtains, a small fan. Anchor the ear to it. Let that sound be the steady thing that holds the mind in place, while the companion walks beside it. She talks of a lamp kept in the room. The lamp is small and old. It casts a circle. It does not flood the whole house. The circle is enough. When the dark presses, she moves close to the lamp. The light does not fix the world. It gives a place to see the next step. The lamp and the companion work together. One shows. The other steadies. A friend's presence can be practical help. 2. Calls made on a bad morning. A meal left at the door. Laundry done without fanfare. These tasks are about staying. Staying halts the feeling that one has to carry the whole valley alone. Help does not take away agency. It redistributes weight. The psalm speaks of fear. Fear is honest. It wants to protect. It rehearses threats like a soldier on a lonely watch. When fear presses, a companion at the shoulder can act like a calm captain. The captain does not berate the soldier. The captain hands a cup of water. The captain points to the map and says, 1 step now. The voice is practical. The body relaxes a fraction. I remember a walk we took. It was late, and the path was muddy. The sky was low. A storm had passed. The valley felt near, even though we were close to home. The companion walked at my side. We put one foot carefully in front of the other. Conversation was sparse. The path demanded attention. The shared silence was a kind of care. When the footing slipped, a hand reached for the elbow. The hand did not ask for explanation. It simply steadied. That memory carries a small lesson. Shared steps change the body's balance. The mind learns to trust that hands will be there when wobble comes. The habit of being helped becomes a muscle. The body stops fighting alone. The chest loosens. Comfort in presence also teaches patience. Valleys are long. They do not fit tidy plans. One cannot hurry all healing. The companion's role is to keep walking, to keep steadying, to bring a lantern now and then. These small actions make a long path bearable. There is a gentle ritual that helps in the thick of a valley. I offer it quietly. Sit upright, if that is the shape you have. Rest both feet on the floor, if that feels safe. Place the palm gently over the heart. Breathe in slowly for 3 counts. Exhale twice as long. On the inhale, imagine a companion stepping close. On the exhale, feel the shoulder loosen where the hand rests. Repeat 4 times. This ritual does not banish the valley. It shifts the posture. The chest remembers how to expand. The hands remember how to receive steadiness. The practice trains the body to accept help in small increments. When practical care is lacking, imagine a steady presence anyway. The imagination is a faithful servant. Picture a companion who knows the contours of your night. Give the companion small tasks. Let the companion hold a lantern. Let the companion check the doors. Let the companion sit in silence when words are too much. She told me once that the very first night, after bad news, she held an imaginary hand. She did not speak about it. She simply held the thought and breathed with it. The hand was not a trick. It was a practice. The practice let her sleep in small stretches. The sleep was not perfect. It was real. Presence can also be the memory of kindness. A neighbor's laugh, a remembered meal, a song hummed by someone who cared. These memories do not erase the valley. They become small landing places. When the night gets heavy, land on one memory. Stay there until breathing eases. Sometimes the companion is not another person at all. It is a faith that someone walks beside. For my friend, that sense was a quiet comfort. It felt like a footstep at dawn. It felt like a shepherd who knows the way through the rocks. The companion does not have to be spoken to. Its presence alone changes the posture. If the valley feels endless, try a tiny map. Write down one next step. Make it small and concrete. Water a plant. Send a short note. Walk to the mailbox. Fold a towel. These acts look trivial. They are not. They create footholds on a steep path. Each foothold is a proof that movement is possible. Community matters here. The valley is not a place meant to be walked in isolation. A neighbor's lantern. A relative's cuillerande. A friend's folded blanket. All of these are pieces of presence. They form a pattern of care. The pattern is stronger than any single act. It helps the body learn that burdens can be shared. Fear of evil in the valley is also a fear of being unseen. The companion's gift is the opposite, being seen and kept company. Sight matters. When someone knows the shape of your night, the night changes. The fear has less room to grow tall. I keep the voice low because the night answers softness. I read the psalm as a bedside promise. The promise is not a magic lamp. It is a steady presence. It is a companion who walks beside the footfall. It is a hand that steadies on rough steps. It is a lamp that picks out the next stone. Before I close this part, try one small thing. Place a small object beside your bed. A pebble, a ribbon, a small coin. Let it be a sign of the companion. When the mind rises with fear, touch the object. Feel its edges. Take one slow breath. Imagine the companion's hand there beside yours. Let the touch be proof that you are not alone. I will stay a moment in silence after this reading. Use the silence to feel the shoulder where the hand rests. Breathe slowly. Let the valley keep its shadows. Allow the companion to walk beside you in the dark. When you are ready, soften the hold on the sheet. Let the breath lengthen. Know that a presence walks near. The comfort is practical. It is steady. It is enough for the next step. I will return with the next reading. For now, rest with the simple truth that you do not walk the valley alone. 14. Strength of collective prayer. Matthew 1820. I open the Bible and let the verse sit in the lamp's circle. I read it slowly. Where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I with them. The sentence settles like a soft bell. It asks for presence, not argument. It asks for company and a small practice. Tonight, we try collective prayer in a gentle way. We do not need a full room. We need a joining of heart and breath. 2 or 3 can be a real and a remembered person. 2 or 3 can be a neighbor and someone you love. 2 or 3 can be your breath and the quiet presence beside you. The gathering is a posture, small and steady. Picture a tiny circle of light. It could be a candle, a lamp, a phone screen dimmed. Place it at the center of the mind. The light is not showy. It is a marker around that light. Imagine 2 or 3 silhouettes. They are calm and ordinary. They sit close enough to share warmth. They speak seldom. They listen more than they speak. This imagined circle becomes our meeting place. Collective prayer does not require loud words. It often begins with listening. I ask you to rest your hands where they are most comfortable. Place one palm over your heart. Keep the other palm open on your lap. Feel the steady weight there. Let the chest rise and fall like a small tide. The hands become witnesses. The heart keeps time. If you are alone here tonight, remember that you do not walk alone. Bring to mind 2 or 3 faces. Choose people who mean something small and good to you. A friend who once sat in silence beside you. Apparence patient présence. A neighbor who left bread on a hard morning. Let them sit in the circle with you. Imagine their breathing joining yours. The rhythm of many breaths is gentle and steady. Try a practice with me. Breathe in together in the mind for 4 counts. Hold the inhale for 1 soft count. Exhale for 6 counts. Repeat this 3 times. With each inhale, imagine fingers of light reaching out from your chest. With each exhale, picture those fingers touching the hands in the circle. The motion is tiny. It trains the senses to feel connected. In the room where I read, a small group once gathered late. It was not a special night. A storm had made the streets quiet. A few of us sat with tea and a single candle. We did not recite a program. We named one need each. Quietly, we listened. No one tried to fix the whole problem of the world. Instead, we took turns holding a small concern while the others stayed near. The presence felt like a net that caught breath and surrendered fear. The experience did not fix everything. It made the load lighter to carry for a while. Collective prayer works similarly, even when the group is invisible. The practice trades performance for attention. It asks for a small, steady presence rather than a large argument. Imagine threads of light running between the palm of your hand and the palms of those you picture. The threads are thin. They do not pull. They simply link. Feel the slight tug where each thread meets. The tug is a proof. It says you are not alone in this moment. We can make the prayer practical. Choose one short phrase to hold. Keep it as a single breath long. For example, choose a word like mercy, steadiness, or rest. Hold that word in the mind as you breathe. Let each person in the circle hold the same word for one silent turn. When you imagine someone else holding the word, feel the comfort extend. The word becomes a shared weight and a shared light. If naming feels too public, try passing silence as your prayer. In the circle, each person allows 3 long beats of quiet. The quiet is not empty. It becomes a shared space. Listen for the small sounds, the breathing, the creak of a chair, the distant clock. These sounds are part of the prayer. They become the rhythm of company. There is a particular gentleness to communal silence. It teaches the heart to be present without needing to solve. It shows how bearing witness is itself a holy act. When others simply stay near, the night does less damage. The mind has fewer places to invent threats. The muscles loosen because the danger of walking alone recedes a little. Sometimes collective prayer takes the shape of naming. Think of 3 names you will bring into the circle tonight. Keep them soft. They can be living people or those who need calm beyond what you can give. Speak each name quietly in the mind or out loud if it is safe to do so. After each name, breathe slowly and imagine the circle's light brightening for that person. The simple motion is an offering. It is not a bargain. It is an act of care. Another practice is the passing of a small object. If someone else is with you physically, pass a pebble or a coin from hand to hand. Let the stone rest briefly in each palm. If you are alone, use a token in your pocket. Each time you touch it, imagine another hand touching its own token. The object becomes a metronome for the group. It helps the hands remember that prayers travel between people, even when bodies are apart. Collective prayer is not meant to hurry the night. It often makes time move differently. When people gather in spirit, the world's edges soften, the breath grows long. A stubborn thought loses its capacity to command. The group's attention creates a field that holds small things like grief and hope without letting them take over. This holding is mercy in practice. If anger or doubt arises while you do this, acknowledge it gently. Do not be surprised by its welling. Set the feeling beside you like a brief note on the table. The circle can hold the note without needing it to be the only thing present. Offer one short breath to the feeling, and then return to the shared phrase or the passing silence. The practice trains the mind to include difficulty without being controlled by it. There is a tender kind of prayer that uses ordinary actions. Someone of my acquaintance would gather a few neighbors to make bread when nights felt especially heavy. The work was quiet, and the rhythm of kneading became a prayer. Hands together, shape dough. The loaf rises slowly. When the bread is shared, so is calm. The communal work is a prayer that is less about words and more about staying in the same motion. If you cannot knead bread tonight, find a small shared action, a call made together, a candle lit at the same time, a short phrase spoken on the inhale and exhale in unison. We must also remember that gathering in the name of God includes gentleness toward ourselves. Do not demand grand eloquence from the heart. If the voice feels thin, let silence carry the prayer. If the hands tremble, let another hand rest on them in the mind. The gathering is not performance. It is presence. Presence forgives the smallness of words. Matthew's line points us to assurance. Where two or three gather, there is a presence that does not abandon. This presence is practical. It steadies. It warms. It listens. Feel that assurance as a weight lifted just enough to breathe. The lifting is not a promise that all trouble disappears. It is a promise that some company is given in the trouble. The company matters. Before we close this part, try one last small exercise. Imagine forming a circle with two others. Picture the light at the center. In your mind, reach out and touch the nearest hand. Feel the slight texture of skin or fabric. Breathe in together for 4 counts. Hold lightly. Breathe out for 6 counts. As you exhale, imagine a small warmth passing from chest to chest. Let the warmth settle under the hands. Stay with the feeling for 3 slow breaths. Then, in a whisper of silence, let the circle widen. Picture more hands. More Kiat lights. The circle does not need to be crowded. It is simply more firm and more tender. Let the sense of being gathered move into the body. Let it rest near the ribs. Let it keep company with whatever keeps you awake. I close the Bible now. Gently, I fold the corner of the page like a small marker. The lamp's glow is soft. The voice moves lower. May the practice we shared tonight be simple and real. May the small gatherings you imagine bring steadiness. May mercy find room in the circle. May hope be passed, hand to hand like a warm cup. Stay in the quiet for a few moments. Breathe with the circle still in mind. Let the presence you felt remain like a small lamp on the sill. When eyelids grow heavy, allow sleep to come as the final shared breath. I will return again with more reading and more gentle practices. For now, rest in the strength of company and the assurance that where a few gather in His name, presence walks with them. I sit with the lamp low and the pages closed in my hand. The room breathes with us. The night makes its slow promise. I speak softly now. As one who has read beside you for many nights, my voice slows to a hush. I lend it to a benediction. Rest is a small kingdom tonight. It does not arrive with a trumpet. It comes like a folded shawl laid over shoulders. Imagine the shawl in your mind. It is warm and light. It fits without fuss. Let it settle. Let the body answer first. Soften the jaw. Ease the shoulders down into the bed. Let the hands rest where they fall most easily. Feel the weight of the blankets. Let the weight be good. Let it say pause. Each muscle can loosen a little. Each muscle can be permitted to let go. Name one small worry now. Give it a single short word. Not to argue with it. Not to invite it louder. Simply name it and then breathe. Hold the worry in a soft palm of thought. With an out breath, imagine laying it across a table and moving away. The motion is simple. It is real. I have read from the pages that hold tenderness. I have told you small images that help the ear rest. Now I seal those images with a short blessing. I do not make grand promises beyond what mercy supplies. I point to the gentle work that remains faithful in the dark. There is a presence that does not sleep when you do. It watches in the hush. It does not press. It keeps company with a steady pulse under your palm. Imagine that presence like a lamp put on a sill outside your window. The lamp is not bright enough to banish the sky. It is enough to show a path. The path is the same whether or not you notice it at every hour. Breathe with me for a moment. Inhale slow. Hold a count. Exhale longer. With each exhale, imagine a small easing around the ribs. Let each breath be an offering of the moment to the quiet. Do this 5 times. Do not force the pace. Let the timing match what feels calm. I speak of God now, as one who knows the sound of a tired heart. The language I use is simple. It is not meant to excel theology. It is meant to rest the ear. Think of kindness extended without condition. Think of care that does not tally shortcomings. Think of protection that does not flinch at night. This is the shape I set before you, as a sheltering thought. If worry arrives later, greet it like a visitor at the door. Offer it a cup. Do not invite it to stay for the whole night. Keep the door slightly open, so the air can change. The guest can speak briefly, and then be shown a path away. The action of showing the guest out is an act of mercy toward yourself. I place a short ritual in your hands. It is small and repeatable. Keep one item near the pillow. A smooth stone or a small strip of cloth will do when the mind stirs besides midnight. Touch it for a single breath. Let the texture remind the body that care has been placed within reach. The hand learns practices faster than the anxious mind. Use the hand to remind the heart it is allowed to rest. Mercy will meet the need while you sleep. Mercy is not loud. It does not demand a full accounting of the day's deeds. It arrives in small repairs. A morning that is easier to rise into. A thought that does not trigger every old ache. A capacity to begin again with a slightly softer posture. These are ways mercy shows itself. I invite a very brief prayer in your mind. Keep it one short sentence. Naralitani. Just a steady line that matches your breath. You might say, inwardly and quietly, Lord, keep watch. Or say nothing at all, if words resist. Presence can be felt in silence as well as in speech. The mind need not produce eloquence. Simple attention suffices. There are things we cannot close tonight. Names, losses, unfinished tasks. They will wait in the morning light in their real shape. For now, tuck them with kindness. Fold them as you would a favorite blanket. Put them gently on a shelf of thought where they can be tended later. The shelf is not a denial. It is a wise pause. If pain lives in the body, let the hands hold the place tenderly. Place a palm on the chest or the belly. Breathe toward that spot, as if warming it with the hand. The warmth does something small but true. It changes how the body remembers the hurt. The touch is a form of presence that needs no argument. Community keeps working even when you are still. People you have trusted already carry small pieces of your day. A neighbor's lamp, a friend's message, a memory of a steady hand. These are strands in a net that hold you in the dark. Let those threads be an unseen support. You are not required to check each one tonight. Trust that they are there. I give a tiny exercise to anchor the ending of this time. Lie with one knee bent if it is comfortable. Place one hand on the heart and one on the thigh. Breathe in and name a short blessing in your mind rest. Peace. Be held. Exhale and let the name sink like a pebble in slow water. Repeat 3 times. Let the pebble settle. If sleeplessness keeps vigil, allow small motions to help. Sit up slowly. Put both feet on the floor. Stretch the arms gently toward the ceiling and then let them fall. Walk to the window, if it comforts you, and look at a steady light outside. The motion breaks the cycle of worry without demanding heroics. Return to bed, and the breath will have shifted a little. I will keep a quiet lamp here and come back when the hour calls. Until then, know that the reading pauses but does not end. The pages rest until they are opened again. The presence that accompanies words stays nearby even in silence. You may hold a memory that aches. Tonight, frame it in a small, gentle sentence rather than a long retracing. Say, "It was hard. It happened. I will carry it with care." The practice of short sentences slows the mind's need to solve what cannot be solved at once. It gives the heart permission to breathe around the fact. Mercy and hope are not distant ideals. They are practical. They look like a supper brought to a tired house. They look like a neighbor who waters a plant. They look like a line of friends who do not flood your life with answers, but who stand by with quiet hands. Let that practicality soothe your mind. The day's repairs will be communal. I ask you to set one intention for the morning. Make it small enough to be done without strain. It could be as modest as making a cup of tea before checking messages. Fold the intention into a small scrap and leave it near the lamp if that helps. Morning will hold it. For tonight, keep only that one small promise. If fear returns, do not be surprised. Fear has its hours. Give it a seat for a breath. Let the breath lengthen as you watch it. Hold the image of a calm field where the grass bends but does not snap. Picture the field under a steady sky. The mind can look at the field and the fear at the same time. Both can exist. Neither has to run the whole room. Sleep is not an ending so much as a tending. In sleep, muscles restaurent. Thought files, softer memories, and the heart rests from rehearsal. Treat sleep like a small repair shop. Bring nothing heavy in your hands. Enter with a quiet posture. Let the shop do its work. I close this evening with a benediction that is meant to be practical. May peace come like a blanket, not like a demand. May mercy find the smallest cracks and soften them. May hope settle as a quiet promise that morning brings another day to try. May protection be present in the hush, steady and not intrusive. I place my hand in imagination over the place you know best, the chest, the belly, the hands that have held much today. I bless that place with a short, simple phrase, "Be at rest." Let the phrase be a hinge for the night. Turn towards sleep, as if opening a small door. When you wake, Take one breath and remember one short line that steadied you tonight. Keep it near your morning routine. Let the memory of this lamp be a small compass. The day will ask for many energies. Give only what you can. Reserve the rest for the small practices that support repair. I promise to return in the hour that follows. I will read soft words again. I will bring images that steady and small rituals that train the hands and the breath. For now, the voice goes low. The lamp dims to a crescent. The room turns inward. Before I go, I leave one final, gentle instruction. Let your hands fall open. Unclench the jaw. Soften the brow. Let the breath lengthen and slow. Allow the eyelids to close when they are ready. Sleep is invited, not demanded. Receive it as a gift for the body and a mercy for the heart. Rest now in the shelter that is here. Rest in a presence that watches kindly. Rest in the knowledge that love and protection are near until we meet again. I remain in the quiet for a moment with you. Then I fold the book and let the hush take the rest. Good night.